But it was just a moment later, and then the eyes of the flowers on the stranger were strange. The stranger is really penetrating in this respect. However, the stranger is young and not deeply involved in the world. Even if he doesn't know that business is not all enough, he needs to be more thorough. Speaking, his eyes like a nail in general, wish to nail in the flower face, how also can't move. Mo Shanghua's eyes swept Wu Cheng's greasy face and collected all the evil at the bottom of his eyes, but he didn't feel it. In this way, I'm willing to buy part of the medicinal materials in Brother Wu's hands at twice the usual price. What do you think? Twice. As soon as Wu Cheng heard this, his thoughts disappeared for a moment. He began to calculate in his mind, thinking about how much profit he could make in it, how much he could get in private, and how much support he could get from his family after he went back. His fat face was full of imagination. Although Brother Wu has been far away from the neighboring countries in recent years, he must be clear about the market price of the imperial city. The imperial city is prosperous, and there are many traders from all over the world. Moreover, when precious medicinal materials arrive at the imperial city, the price is only a little more expensive than usual. Only Yuzhou is extremely lack of such things. Can the price be doubled? The voice of flowers on the street is like magic. If there is something like nothing, it will reverberate in people's heart and turn up a little waves. Wu Cheng's mind suddenly jumped up. He drank a glass of wine and pressed his mind down. How do you know what I'm carrying is ordinary? This time, I will bring more rare and precious things than those common things. The flower eyebrow tip lightly picks a few points, a pair of extremely interested appearance, is what rare thing, elder brother Wu might as well say to see, also let me understand. Wu Cheng saw that Mo Shanghua was so interested. He was so proud that he put down the wine and clapped his hands. The boy outside answered, then pushed the door in and took out a sheet, holding it in both hands. Wu Cheng raised to lift the foot to have 2 layers of fat greasy chin, point to the direction of Mo Shanghua. The small C immediately put the list in front of Mo Shanghua. Mo Shanghua picked up the list and looked at it carefully. She was very serious. This is a list. It clearly records the medicinal materials that the Wu family brought for sale this time. At the back of the list is the intended selling price, but the price of the drugs next to it is very common. However, the top of the list is Jianghe, which is 5,000 liang, but it's just the auction price. It seems that the Wu family really values Jianghe, but they are ready to auction it. If they really need it, they are willing to take it at a sky-high price. Under such a rush, they will make a lot of profits. No business is without fraud. Fortunately, today's people are not really smart. So thinking, Mo Shanghua pretended to be surprised and widened his eyes. What's this descending grain, so high price? Why don't you even know how to lower the grain? It's a rarity in the rarity. Wu Cheng only felt that he didn't know how to buy the flowers on the street. He was more and more flurried in his heart. It said that this thing can live the flesh and bones of the dead. No one can say anything even if the price is raised by several thousand liang. But because it's too rare, it hasn't appeared in more than 10 years. You're too young to know. Yesterday, when the imperial doctor bought those herbs, he also looked like he had never seen the world. Yuzhou is really a remote place, and there are many local people. On the other hand, the flower in the street did not show the surprise in Wu Cheng's imagination. On the contrary, her face became very strange. She looked at him like he wanted to talk and stop. Wu Cheng naturally wondered, "What's wrong with you, Master Mo?" He said so clearly, "Is it difficult for her or not?" Mo Shanghua's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he was considering the use of words. After living for a moment, he said, "To tell you the truth, elder brother Wu, although I'm in the business of medicinal materials, I also have a lot of research on medical skills. I've read no less than 1,000 volumes of medical books, but I've never seen any record of this medicine in the book, and I've never heard anyone mention it. You said it's a rumor, isn't it wrong?" "No way." Wu Cheng didn't believe it. He even raised his voice a little and looked down on it at the bottom of his eyes. "1 or 2 of you said so. I think Yuzhou is small, and no one knows what you're looking for. When you get to the imperial city, some people will recognize you, and they are willing to compete at a high price. The flower on the street is thin eyebrow light siu. The look inside the mouth is more and more strange. Still have other people to also say so? It's the imperial doctor yesterday. He said his surname was Lu. I don't know whether his name was Lu Zheng or Lu Xie, or the imperial doctor. He didn't know what to do. When Wu Qing mentioned this, he was both satirical and proud. He said he wanted to save lives, but he put enough jianghe to live dead people's flesh and bones. He didn't even look at it and bought other herbs. If he knew he had missed such a precious thing, he would not know how sorry he would have been. Dr. Lu Jinglu? The flower on the street frowned more closely, and her voice was full of doubt. Dr. Lu came from the imperial city. It is said that Dr. Lu was a famous doctor in the palace, and his family had been practicing medicine for generations. His father had been sentenced by the imperial hospital. He was sent to Yuzhou to cure the epidemic at the beginning. Later, the epidemic was controlled. He was used to the local conditions and customs here, so he stayed. It's not too much to say that he was a miracle doctor. If there is such a wonderful medicine, how can he not know? Wu Qing only knew that Lu was the imperial doctor, but he didn't want to be so big. He was also a little surprised. How could this be possible? That boy really has such a big background. He can never be unaware of it. But they said, there are so many people who know this thing in the imperial city. How can there be people who don't know it in the imperial city? No. The more Wu Qing thinks about it, the more he feels that it's unlikely. His eyes fall on Mo Shanghua again. He sneers, you must be short-sighted and don't know what's good. How can anyone not know such top things? Being said so, Mo Shanghua was not angry at all. He just said, I don't know, but if Imperial Dr. Lu doesn't know, I'm afraid no one will know. I'm afraid I may not be able to get to the capital even if I have never heard of such a thing. Seeing that Wu Cheng's face was slightly heavy, he seemed to be angry. Mo Shanghua immediately laughed and turned away from the topic. After talking for a long time, we haven't talked about the business. Let's continue the previous topic. I can take all the precious things except jianghe and buy them at twice the price. If you like, I will continue to cooperate at this price in the future. If you don't think it's right, even if it's 3 times, you can have one business. This sentence, in addition to descending the grain, was like a small hammer falling on Wu Cheng. Although he was not happy, he could not help saying, you should make it clear first. What about when you get to the capital? Let's talk about it later. If I tell you the truth, Brother Wu, please don't turn around. I don't blame you, just say it quickly. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua hesitated. Her pupils were dark, and she couldn't see any emotion. After hesitating for a while, she said, I just think that this thing is only famous in your country, and most of the famous names are spread by mistake. Maybe there is such a medicine, but its efficacy is not so magical. The most important thing is that no one in our country can recognize your medicine. How can anyone believe your one-sided words and spend such a high price to buy it? Fart. Wu Cheng, who had just promised, was furious. I didn't get this job until I wasted 9 oxen and 2 tigers. How could it be fake? You don't know Jin Xiangyu, and you're full of nonsense. I don't think we need to do this business. With that, he rose up and turned to go. Brother Wu, why don't you think about it in a different way? Maybe there's something unspeakable about it? Not yet to the door, the voice of flowers on the street is light. So calm and profound words, let the violent Wuching step is also a meal, cold face turned around. Since ancient times, all the families with big family business and many children have to fight for their family business. Even the royal family will have brothers and sisters, which shows the darkness. After a pause, she picked up the tea she had left for a long time, took a sip of it, moistened her lips, and then continued, I dare to speculate that this matter may have something to do with those things. Brother Wu might as well think about it. If it looks so good and it's so simple, if it's done badly, who will profit from it? Wu Cheng's dark complexion changed little by little with the fall of the voice of the flowers on the street. It was green and white for a while, and it looked rather cloudy and sunny. Following the words of Mo Shanghua, from the time he overheard De Fong discussing the matter to the time when he was angry and couldn't cut off his beard, There was something suspicious. Defong was always insidious and oppressed him everywhere. How could he let things out so skillfully and let him pick up such a big bargain this time? At present, the boy's speech is extraordinary, and what he said is reasonable and reliable. He can't find anything to refute. Damn, Defong is so insidious and calculating on him. He had already patted his chest in front of the owner of the house and promised, what could he do now? Thinking about this, Wu Cheng's fat face also showed a little helpless and resentful. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua personally brought the wine pot to the 2 glasses of wine, took the 2 glasses of wine, and stepped in front of Wu Cheng. It seems that what I expected is true. I think Big Brother Bi Wu is very worried now. Wu Cheng didn't answer, but his ugly face was enough to explain everything. Mo Shanghua took the wine cup and said, actually, I offended some people in Wujuan before and couldn't buy the medicine. I'm stubborn. The more they do, the more I have to make some achievements, and I have no way to do it. How about this? I'll buy all your medicinal materials at 3 times the price, and Jianghe can also be purchased at the price of centennial ginseng. In this way, it is also a big income. You can go back and lie about selling it. In this way, you and I can win-win. Then he raised one of the cups of wine in front of Wu Cheng and said, if Brother Wu wants to, drink this wine. Wu Cheng looks at the wine cup that is sent to him. It's not that he doesn't want to take it, but that there is still resentment in his heart. This kind of emotion drives him to take it for a while. Does Brother Wu still want to sell Jianghe at a good price in the imperial city? The flower face on the street was dyed with the color of a smile, quietly urging. When Wu Cheng heard the words, he was deeply touched. His eyes were so distorted by the fat. He bit his teeth and took the wine cup. Since Mr. Mo is so sincere then. Second Master Wu might as well wait. He did not finish a sentence. Suddenly a low male voice came from outside the door, and Xing Xing interrupted Wu Cheng's voice. Then, the door was pushed open, and a black robe, with extraordinary temperament and ordinary appearance, stepped in. The flower on the street cuts water, autumn pupil suddenly a dark, complexion tiny coagulation. Who are you? How long have you been here? She has excellent martial arts. She didn't realize half of this person's breath before. Who is he? Wu Cheng was also startled by the sudden person. His narrow eyes couldn't help but squint and looked at the man carefully. When they looked at him like this, his face was half unchanged, his eyes were long and narrow, dark, and his breath was calm and introverted. His dark pupils swept on the flower for a moment, almost imperceptibly scratched something, and then recovered as before. It doesn't matter who I am, what's more, I can offer a higher price to help you through this difficulty. The following words are just to Wu Cheng. What do you have? Who knows what your purpose is? Wu Cheng also has some brains. He has never seen the people in front of him, and he doesn't know the details. How can he easily believe them? The man clapped his hands in no hurry, and then a man in Schwani came in with a wooden box about 1 inch long and half an inch high. After closing the door, he put it on the table and opened it. The box was full of golden gold, which was dazzling. Wu Cheng didn't take over his family business. Of course, he had never seen such a situation before. He couldn't help taking a breath. What's the meaning of this? The man looked at Wu Cheng with a faint smile, but there was no half smile in his eyes. These are enough for all your medicinal materials. The flower eyebrows in the street jumped heavily, and the delicate cheeks suddenly became cold. You should be a businessman, but you don't know how to come first and then. If you do this, you are robbing business on purpose. The man's smile on his lips remained unchanged, and his eyes fell on Mo Shanghua. Business is based on honesty. Girls have to hide their gender. How can it be regarded as honesty? Besides, I'm not a businessman at all. I just want these drugs to be useful. The autumn pupil, who is as calm as an ancient well, is shocked. Who is this person in the end? How can he see through her daughter's identity all of a sudden? Wu Cheng also suddenly turned his head and looked at the flower. He looked at the flower carefully from top to bottom. After his eyes touched the small ear holes on her round earlobe, he was also shocked. Are you really a woman? I said, where is such a white and beautiful man? Emo Shanghua's panic was only for a moment. She soon calmed down and explained, "It's inconvenient for women to act. I just came out disguised as a man. I didn't mean to hide it. If not, I'm afraid I can't get into Qinghuan Pavilion today." It's not so much a crime for this girl to hide. The man sees this, somehow, also quietly helped to explain Wu Cheng because Emo Shanghua is a woman's identity exposure. The suspicion in the heart also reduced down. The man's eyes slowly fell on Wu Cheng again. However, it was the girl who broke the rules first. No matter what, just on the price, Wu Yi should know how to choose. If you really don't want to, I won't force you. As the voice fell, the dark clothes attendant beside him closed the wooden box again. The meaning was self-evident. Emo Shao's lips slightly pursed, and his eyes swept around the man before falling on Wu Cheng again. His face was brilliant. "Brother Wu, people always pay attention to gratitude. It's me who helps you break the plot. If you leave me now, it's a bit ungrateful." She has no extra money in her hand now, otherwise, she would not use this method to stimulate. Wu Cheng stares at Emo Shanghua and sneers. In addition to anger, there is more lust in his pupils. "Don't play this game with me. If you are sincere, you might as well serve me well. It can be regarded as atonement for your previous deception," said he, a salty pig hand then toward Emo Shanghua's cheeks stretched out to come over. Emo Shanghua stepped back, dodged Wu Cheng's salty hands, and put a layer of frost on her delicate cheek cage. Wu Yi had better show some respect. "It's so unwise. I'll see how you can survive without my help." Wu Cheng glanced sarcastically at the flower on the street and turned to smile at the man. The fat meat on his face almost squeezed his facial features out of shape. Originally, he didn't think much about the embarrassment of Emo Shanghua, but now he only thinks that Emo Shanghua has to dress up as a man because it is a woman, and he is paying such a price to buy it. It can be said that in the end, people are all benefit-oriented. Now with better conditions on his face, how can he give up? In this way, I'd like to trouble Mr. Wu to guide us and take us to get the herbs. When we get the herbs, they will be handed over to you naturally. The man was clearly laughing, but he couldn't feel the slightest emotion fluctuation on his body. There was a layer of unexplained momentum around him. This kind of momentum makes Emo Shanghua feel faint. It seems that he has seen a person with the same characteristic somewhere, but when he thinks about it carefully, he can't remember. Until Wu Cheng followed the man to leave with a smile, she just closed her eyes, Lu Mei tightly locked into a ball, eyes a little angry. It's not that she didn't want to get involved, but the situation is settled and she can't fight anymore. What's more, this person can see through her identity at a glance, and almost get to the bottom of her plan. If she doubts and fights, this person can't say for sure, he will directly break all her plans and make a fish out of the water. I have to say that this kind of feeling of being cut off on the way is really angry and funny. But the flowers on the street are not willing to suffer in vain. No matter who this person is, if you want to deceive her, you must give it back. Her previous silence, of course, is also for the next step. So think, Emo Shanghua busy step out, found Qinghuan Pavilion bustard. The bustard is a member of Qinghuan Pavilion, who has been told more or less by Hui Qianliu. Therefore, as soon as she saw the flowers coming, she raised her lips and began to laugh. "Momu young master, why don't you come out of this meeting? Why don't you stay a little longer and watch the time? My young master should be back." "No, I have something to deal with. I can't wait any longer." Emo Shanghua shook her head and her voice was indifferent. "My mother has been entertaining me in the hall, but I have seen two men in black clothes. They are all ordinary looking. One of them even carried a wooden box and just went out with me. Although these two people are ordinary, and they are not conspicuous in the crowd at all, one of them is holding a box, and Wu Cheng is more conspicuous. Naturally, the bustard has some impression, but it has some impression. I don't know why Mr. Emo asked." Mention these two people. Emo Shanghua's face is slightly positive. "Please mother, will those two people's faces down. Wait for your son to come back. In the matter to him, ask him to help pay attention to these two people." Seeing the face of flowers on the street, the bustard knew that it was not easy. Even if she nodded her head, "Don't worry about it. I will tell you exactly when you come back." she is with the flower guarantee. Behind suddenly came the flower thousand willow clear voice. What things to tell me? As he spoke, he had already bypassed the bustard and came to Mo Shanghua. He bowed slightly and looked at Mo Shanghua with the usual frivolous smile on his lips. I'm here now. If you have something to do with Mo Shanghua, you can tell me directly. However, 1 yard to 1 yard, the commission should be half a cent. Hua Qianlu is the leader of Qinghuan Pavilion. His strength will not be weak. If he is taken, the advantages are far more than the disadvantages. The moment Mo Shanghua saw Yan Beiqing, she quickly measured it in her heart. She immediately grabbed Yan Beiqing's sleeve, dragged him through the hall and walked out. It's urgent, I'll talk while I walk. When Hua Qianlu reacts, his baggy robes have been pulled off his shoulders. He quickly follows him while pulling his collar. He yells, "Take it slow, little Mo Hua. My dress has been cut out these days. It's rare. Don't drag it for me." The flower on the street suddenly appeared in her mind. With a huge abacus in her arms, she sat there and knocked out all kinds of expenses to be compensated. Thinking of this, she suddenly released the half sleeve in her hand. Then you follow closely. Before she could spit out the last "I," she almost fell on the ground pressed by Hua Qianliu's body. She quickly turned around and pushed people away. What are you doing? Hua Qianlu touched his nose innocently. I didn't mean to, but I can't help you stop suddenly because you have so much strength. The curving radian of the frown on the street was just a little flat. He turned around again and said, just follow me. I'll tell you the details later. Hua Qianlu saw that although Hua was still indifferent, she was not joking when she was a little nervous. She was not joking and followed her closely. Out of this flower street, there are obviously fewer people on the street. Only a few pedestrians are walking on the road. As a result, they did not shy away from it. They directly carried their lightness skills and speeded up their journey. On the way, Mo Shanghua and Hua Qianlu briefly talked about the matter, and their destination was Wu Cheng's inn. But Yuzhou is so big, plus the two people's previous delay of some time, when they arrived, Wu Cheng had loaded all the herbs into the car and handed them over to the previous man. The man Fang had another entourage, which was full of 3 carts. He drove away in a roofless carriage. Wu Cheng followed him and said goodbye with a smile. The flowers on the street and the willows on the street are hiding on the roofs of the houses on both sides of the street. Seeing this, they quickly look at each other and get up on the roof. On the one hand, they pay attention to the movements of several people below, and on the other hand, they follow them carefully. In the silent night, the sound of the carriage wheel rolling on the ground is very clear, which covers the slight sound of the flowers stepping on the tile occasionally. The 3 people in that line are not aware of it. They just continue to drive the carriage quietly, and there is no communication between them. Mo Shanghua secretly observed the 3 people and noticed that they didn't communicate with each other. However, she didn't have time to think about it. It's really that her current situation doesn't allow her to think so much. She has been in this world for several months, and she has little time to practice martial arts. Although she is relaxed, she is still much worse than this man. If she keeps doing this, it will only be sooner or later. Thinking of this, her willow eyebrows slightly frowned for a few minutes. When she was worried, Hua Qianlu, who had been following her, stopped. He seemed to see the trouble of flowers on the street and pulled the corner of her dress. When she turned around, he patted her on the shoulder. Mo Shanghua looked at his thin but broad shoulders along the line of sight and suddenly came over. Looking at the current situation, she didn't think much about it. She just felt that in order to complete the task, she didn't show any affectation. She nodded and climbed on the back of Hua Qianlu. Hua Qianlu carries Mo Shanghua on her back and carefully passes her hands through her knee socket. Normally, she looks frivolous, but her hands are clenched into fists at this time, without touching her legs. If other women notice this, I'm afraid they've already made a secret wish for it. They are not as careful as other women in this respect, and they don't understand the amorous feelings at all. She just stares at a line of 3 people who are about to turn into the alley in the street below, and whispers in the ear of Flower Willow in a flat voice, "Come on, they're going into the alley." It's really a woman he didn't pay any attention to him. Make complaints about the thousand Lu's heart. He still nodded, and his footwork continued to run, and he pursued it in front of him. Clearly, it is easy to step on the sound of tiles, to the foot of the flower willow, but like the soft soil in general, not a sound. In this way, the speed did not drop at all, always followed the people not far or near. The three of them walked in the city of Yuzhou in a carriage. After winding around for a long time, they stopped in an alley near the north gate. Although the alley is close to the gate, it is a remote place far away from the center of the city. The residents around it are not rich, and most of them are ordinary small households. The three carriages were parked in front of the door of an ordinary household. Previously, the man's carriage was the closest to the door. He had just stopped the carriage, and the people behind the two carriages trotted all the way to open the door. The man took it for granted. He whispered to them and didn't know what to order, so he stepped in. When the other two saw the man go, they went in, took a few boards, spread them on the threshold, and led the three carriages in turn. The flowers on the street come down from the back of Hua Qianlu. They both watched the movements of the two people below with breath holding, waiting for the opportunity. After they led the carriage in, they waited for about a cup of tea. The door was still as quiet as before. The flowers on the street nodded to the flowers and willows. Flower thousand willow understanding, two people this just light one jump, directly fell on the ground, toward that door close. Just now some distance from here, nothing to feel, now a fall in the door, holding his breath. The two eyes are a bit different color, standing in the same place did not move. Mo Shanghua thought about it, took out a small porcelain vase from her sleeve, poured out 2 milky white pills, handed one to Hua Qianlu, and left one for herself. Flower Willow took the pill, but did not eat, but in the hands of watching carefully, pick eyebrows to look at the flowers, silent inquiry. At this time, it's really inconvenient to talk. Although the flower on the street shook his head, he took out a small bag of powder wrapped in oil paper and exchanged a look with Hua Qianlu. Hua Qianlu nodded, swallowed the pill, then suddenly stepped forward and kicked the door open. The two men in black clothes who had been guarding the back of the door were a little caught off guard. Fortunately, they reacted quickly enough and stepped back a few steps. At the moment when the door was opened, the flower on the street raised her hand, and the white powder immediately diffused in the air, which disturbed people's sight and could only barely see the figure clearly. The smoke and dust dispersed, and the two Xuani people coughed uncontrollably. Combined with the effect of drugs, their movements were a little slow. In this way, even if the two men's martial arts are first class, when they fight with each other, they are constrained everywhere and soon fall behind, and the more they fight, the slower they move. In the end, the man fighting with Mo Shanghua fell to the ground directly because of the effect. The man in Xuani, who Hui Qianliu was dealing with, was knocked to the ground before the medicine had time to work. Making such a big noise, the man who had been in for a long time didn't come out. Mo Shanghua took out the dagger he hadn't pulled out just now, held it tightly in his hand, carefully bypassed the three carriages and approached the house. Hua Qianlu is still clinging to the fan, walking side by side with the flowers in the street, but it is rare in her eyes. She is serious without a smile. The sound of their steps was very light, and there was no sound when they stepped on the ground. There was no movement in the whole hospital, and they could not even detect the breath of people. Mo Shanghua pinched the dagger with one hand, pushed the door open with the other hand, and had a panoramic view of the things in the house. Step into the door. The second step has not yet stepped out. Mo Shanghua will hand horizontal in front of Flower Willow body. A light fell at the foot. Flower Willow along his line of sight to see, then see the foot of an inch of position, across a very thin silk line, should be no doubt. Mo Shanghua didn't care so much. After telling her, she deliberately pulled out the hairpin and threw it down. Such as waterfall green silk wantonly pour, the moonlight is soft and illusory, reflecting the side face of the flowers on the street adds a bit ethereal. Beauty like this, Flower Thousand Willow for a while unexpectedly is unable to move an eye to come. At the same time when the silk thread was broken, the two tables smashed towards the place, and a loud bang brought their thoughts back. Crossing the broken table, before I had time to look at it carefully, a man suddenly flew down from the roof beam. His sword was strong and pointed at the flower willow. Hua Qianliu's reaction is very fast. He is vigorous and avoids fighting with him quickly. Both of them are excellent in martial arts, and they are equal in fighting. It's hard for others to interfere. If you don't know what to do, you just stand still and watch the battle. But after a long struggle, there was no result. So they took another bag of powder and scattered it in the air as before. But she didn't know that the man had already lost, and he would lose for a long time. As soon as the powder came out, the man's brow tightened tightly, and the killing power in his hand decreased a lot, so he wanted to escape. Hua Qianlu, who is willing to let him escape easily, has been chasing. Mo Shanghua looks at the man who has slowed down a lot, and his lips say, 3, 2, 1 dash, the word stop. As soon as the sword in the man's hand is loose, he falls to the ground. Hua Qianlu wiped the sweat stains on her forehead and sighed. This boy's martial arts is not weak. He can resist injuries for so long. If it wasn't for your powder, I'm afraid he would have to pester for a while. Said, his face then hung up to smile again. Small Mo flower, you but saved my life, in the future can let me well repay is. I wrote it down. He was joking, but he nodded his head, then stepped up to the man's side, squatted down and rummaged over him. Hua Qianliu's face changed greatly and yelled, I forgot. You are a black-hearted man. How can I give you a chance to kill me? It's of your own volition, not my compulsion. In front of his chest, he turned out something wrapped in a cloth bag. When he opened it, it was exactly the same as what Lu Zheng had described. I think this person is also for the convenience of taking jianghe, so it's treated like this. The stems and leaves are damaged, but fortunately, they are still healthy and can continue to be used as medicine. He put down the grain. He thought that Hua Qianlu had just said that he was hurt, but he didn't find it when he was watching the battle. He felt a little curious, so he took a pulse in front of the man. With this exploration, we found that the person's qi, blood, heart, and pulse were damaged. What's more, besides the enchantment she had just fallen into, there was also a kind of poison that could attack at any time. I'm afraid it's not easy for me to have a serious injury and be as good as Hua Qianlu. Thinking about this, I can't help but get more complicated when I see the man's eyes. How could such a person with extraordinary bearing and excellent martial arts come to this place when he was seriously injured? Did he have any purpose? Did he just want to lower the grain and save his life? But now, no matter whether it is or not, she can't allow this person to cut off his beard and fight with her. Whether this person lives or dies depends on his own fate. What are you thinking? When Hua Qianlu saw her squatting there for a long time, she didn't know what she was thinking, so she came over and stared at the man curiously. Nothing. Mo Shanghua shook her head and went out. Flower Willow did not get up, staring at the man's ordinary face, heart move, as if to think of something in general, raised his hand to touch the man's jaw. It doesn't feel as smooth and delicate as ordinary people's skin. If you look at it carefully, it's common for a man who practices martial arts all the year round to have rough skin, but he always feels that something is wrong. Just as he was about to touch the man's cheek, Hua Qingling's voice came from the courtyard. Is it difficult for the Lord to settle down here? Compared with here, I prefer to sleep in the bank. Flower Thousand Willow hand action Duanxia also did not think much, smiled to sing of get up and come out. After solving the current problems, they did not continue to use lightness skills. They walked leisurely on the street. At that time, the night was deep and the streets were very quiet. Only the sound of the watchman beating the gong came from time to time. Mo Shanghua's face is light, and she walks in front. Hua Qianlu shakes her folding fan, and her lips smile behind her. For a long time, Mo Shanghua stopped and turned to look at him. In front of him is the location of Qinghuan Pavilion. Go back. There's no need to see him off. Besides, thank you for today's business. Easy to say, easy to say. Hua Qianliu's lips are smiling and his eyes are clear. As soon as my son is kind to his heart, my friend's wife has something to ask for, so I'll try my best to help him. Therefore, I won't charge you this time. The flowers on the street pursed their lips, and the slight suspicions at the bottom of their heart disappeared. They all said that there is no business without fraud. Now it seems that it is true, it's natural. Hua Qianlu is not annoyed, but is very popular. It's not early. I'll send you back first. After 2 days, you can come to Qinghuan Pavilion and have a drink. I think so, but let's forget about seeing you off. I'm a very weak woman. Even if I meet gangsters, it's all their bad luck. I'll be fine. Hua Qianlu helped himself, but he didn't refuse. He was not used to seeing him off, so he didn't agree. Hua Qianlu burst out laughing, not half disappointed, but joked. I forgot that you are a famous shrew in Yuzhou City. I heard that Brother Beiqing is not your opponent. Mo Shanghua was completely immune to this, and her face remained the same. She said something and went back. When she said it, she seemed to think of something in general and suddenly said, by the way, you should remember that man's appearance, right? I don't know the origin of this man. He's a bit strange. I'd like you to help me investigate him. This person is a little strange. If you don't say it, don't worry. I will visit you carefully. When Hua Qianlu thought of this person, she felt strange in her heart, so she responded directly. Then I'll come back to you on time in 2 days. The flower on the street looked at the dark sky above her head, and then turned to leave. Hua Qianlu didn't go, but stood in the same place, looking at the body shape of the flowers on the street, and a kind of unclear thought came into his quiet eyes. When Mo Shanghua returned to the mansion, it was already dark. Qinya seemed to have been waiting for her for too long. When she was very tired, she sat on the table and slept with her eyes closed. Mo Shanghua takes a small quilt and puts it on for Qinya. He extinguishes the candlestick in the room and returns to his bedroom. He takes Jianghe out again. It's not like the usual medicine. It's blue in color. It's as low as sand. Its branches and leaves are sparse, but it's the size of a palm. It looks good against the warm candlelight. However, the specific efficacy of Mo Shanghua is still not clear. I simply took a wooden box and put things away. I took the medical books and read them. I didn't go to sleep until it was about to light up. The next morning, Qinya wakes up in the small bed, looks at her clothes, and knows that Mo Shanghua has already come back. She runs to her bedroom. As soon as Mo Shanghua opened her eyes, she saw Qinya's pretty cheek. She simply stopped sleeping. She got up to dress and said, "You should not have slept well yesterday. You'd better have a rest." "I'll be fine. Don't worry, princess." "It's you, princess. When did you come back yesterday? I look at the medical books on your desk. Haven't you been reading the medical books all night, and you will go to bed at dawn?" Qinya's main concern at this time is not Jianghe. What she is more worried about is to cure her and her brother's mute and deaf stranger Shanghua. Seeing that Qinya's eyes were pure and sincere, Mo Shanghua can't help but feel relieved. "It's okay, but it's late when I come back. I've been tossing about for a long time, and I'm not sleepy. I just read some medical books." What she read last night were ancient books that she didn't have time to read. After a long time, she found a few words about Jianghe, but she still knew very little. She still needed to study them carefully. After all, there was only one Jianghe, so she had to be careful not to waste the hard-won thing. Qinya reproached herself and could not help but bow her head. "Princess, I know that you are doing this for me and my brother. But it's more for my own sake. After all, if you're good, you can be my right hand. Besides, I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt. You don't have to think that the flower on the street thought about it, and then relieved." She said such warm words, but her face was still calm, no waves and no waves. Qinya was even more moved, but she didn't want to spend time on the street, so she nodded her head in a hurry. "I know you are sleeping, princess. When you wake up, I will let them pass on food." Mo Shanghua shook his head and got out of bed. "No need. Now let's have dinner. After dinner, you call Dr. Lu directly. I have something important to discuss with him." Qinya knew that the words of Mo Shanghua couldn't be changed, so she could only nod her head helplessly. "Yes, the maid is now passing on the meal, but princess, you should have a good rest in the evening. The delicate chin dots of the flowers on the street should be placed." Chinya transferred all the people in the house, and then she went to the outside of the house to guard, leaving only 2 people on the street to discuss. Seeing no one else, Lu Jingkai sat down at the invitation of Mo Shanghua. Wei Chen waited here for a long time yesterday, but when he went back, he didn't see the princess coming back. I don't know what trouble the princess met yesterday. Can Jianghe get it smoothly? He took advantage of Yunji's sudden illness to stay a little longer yesterday. It's past the closing time of Qinghuan Pavilion, and no one is there for fear of change. There were some small episodes, but there was no danger. Jianghe had already got it. Yesterday that is not a smooth process. Mo Shanghua is also just an understatement. Lu Zheng was also a thorough person. Seeing that the flower on the street was unwilling to say more, he did not ask any more. He was just relieved and sighed. There are still omissions in such a comprehensive plan. I think the value of lowering grain is really considerable. Speaking of this, he deeply admired the wisdom of Mo Shanghua. She just went out to inquire about it. When she came back, she had already made a quick arrangement and completed a small part. But what Mo Shanghua told him was that he bought medicinal materials from Wu Cheng at a high price, but he deliberately avoided Jianghe and pretended not to know. Even if Wu Cheng didn't believe it, he would plant a seed in his heart. Fortunately, Wu Cheng is here, not Wu's big house. Otherwise, I'm afraid I can't cheat him at all. After all, Mo Shanghua's plan is only aimed at Wu Cheng, who is impetuous, stupid and not valued by his family. Wu's family is 10 times smarter than him. Otherwise, he can't get into such a situation. Mo Shanghua recalled some of the contents about Jiang He that she had read yesterday, and said softly, I read some ancient books yesterday, and I have got a general understanding of them. The flesh and white bones of the living dead are exaggerations, but they are not much different. It's magical, but there is no record of how to make medicine in ancient books, and there are no examples in previous years. That's why I'm here. Under the gaze of Mo Shanghua's eyebrows, he took out an ancient book and a yellow book from his sleeve. Isn't it? Mo Shanghua leaned forward slightly, and her eyes fell on the 2 classics. It's really something about Jianghe. Lu Zheng nodded and picked up the yellow and untitled book. However, this one should be different. This one is a medical book recorded by the master himself when he was alive. It's also his life's hard work. Lu Mei, a flower in the street, frowned and didn't reach out to pick it up. That should be very important to you. It's from the school. How can you? She was quite surprised that this kind of thing should be passed on to her disciples and never shown to others. Master, his old people always uphold medical ethics. If he can spread his medical skills, he will be happy. Lu Zheng smiles at Mo Shanghua. His eyebrows and eyes are warm. I have marked the past cases and treatment methods of Jianghe and madness in these 2 books with a red ink pen. You can take them back and study them. Time is the most precious thing. If you spend your time searching for information, I don't know how much time you have to waste. After a long time, it's hard to avoid long dreams. Lu Zheng can save her too much time this time. She really has no need to refuse. In this way, Mo Shanghua thought about it and accepted it gladly. Thank you for your trouble, thank you very much. Don't mention it. Although I promised to treat with you, I can't help you too much. What I can do is nothing. That's enough. It's an important step for me. Mo Shanghua's face looked at Lu Zheng seriously, and his tone was more serious. In a word, thank you very much. Lu Zheng dropped his eyelashes and gave a little smile. Because of this smile, his handsome eyebrows and eyes were more moist, but no one could see that the bottom of his eyes was gone quietly, a touch of loss. By the way, what's the matter with Wu Cheng now? If he discovers something wrong afterwards and comes back to seek revenge, how can you deal with it? Mention this matter. Lu Zheng's lips' smile immediately gathered a lot. Mo Shanghua had thought about it for a long time, and said calmly, it's certain that he will seek revenge, but there's no need to be afraid of him. At that time, you just need to show your identity as a royal doctor in the palace, and he will not dare to do anything. After all, this is not another country. He is a person from another country, how dare he pick up any trouble here? After a pause, she said, "As for me, I didn't use my real identity. I was in the palace all day. Even if he wanted to find me, he couldn't find me. As for that shop, it's just an empty shell. Let's put it aside for a while." When he went, there was no one. However, he will not be able to guarantee who is the target of his revenge. Thinking of this, her mind instantly gushed out of that ordinary man, cut water autumn pupil micro turn, eyes color gradually turned thick. Lu Zheng's eyes crossed a little puzzled and could not help saying, "What's the meaning behind this?" "Nothing. You don't have to worry about it anyway." Mo Xianghua shakes her head and doesn't want to say more. When Lu Zheng saw this, it was not easy to say anything more, so he got up to say goodbye and didn't stay. Mo Xianghua asked people to send Lu Zheng out. After thinking about it, they put away the classics temporarily and went to Yunji's house instead. The medicine on the street is extraordinary. The man and his subordinates will wake up after a whole night's sleep. When I wake up, the grain that I got without any effort is also gone. The man's face was suddenly gloomy, and the dark color in his eyes almost dripped out of the water. The air pressure in the whole room dropped to the lowest point, depressing and depressing. Two men in black knelt on the ground, their heads buried very low, and even their breath was as low as possible. The man sat in front of the collapse, his eyes were gloomy, but he didn't speak for a long time. He didn't mean to punish or forgive, so people couldn't guess what he thought. Only he knew that he was not only angry about the loss of Jianghe, but also interested in the Princess Yu from the imperial city, Lu Qianqian. Last time, he knew that she was different. Now it seems that she is different. She is resourceful. In addition, in Yuzhou, the Emperor Tiangao is far away, and there is no one to control her. There is also the poison technique and martial arts. Each one seems to be telling that she is really different from before. Cough. When he was thinking about it, his throat itched and he coughed, covering his chest. The whole chest vibrated uncontrollably, and the wound on his shoulder was also touched. It was very painful. "Your Highness dash." Seeing this, the two people who kept their heads down raised their heads. The man raised his hand, two people's voice suddenly low down, "Not ask more. It's not your fault that the Comer really has the advantage this time, so there will be no penalty. A man is not stupid. Now he has only these two people around him. Naturally, he won't let himself fall into a state where no one can use him." Both of them looked at the man in some surprise. After a few seconds, they quickly bent over. "Thank you for your grace. How's everything I asked you to look up?" The man nodded, his face recovered as usual, and he could not see the weak state that had just affected the injury. "His Highness Hui, it has been confirmed that Princess Yu has been back for 4 or 5 days. King Yu did not follow him. It is said that he is still in Wujuan and will come back in a few days. No one knows the exact time. If it's him, I used to look down on him." The man's Mao color shoes one deep, the lip cape evokes one to put on the cool color. Now the time is right, there is a sudden mutiny in Yangzhou, and the strength of the people who have increased sharply must have something to do with Yanbei City. The official used to be mediocre, but his later movements were so beautiful that he was caught off guard and destroyed all his movements. At that time, he felt incredible. Now it seems that Yan Beiqing is the one who really plays the role of pig and eats tiger. If he is joining hands with his princess, he may become a serious trouble in the future. What's more, he is almost dead now. He can't get out of Yuzhou, but the poison on his body is puzzling. If he attacks one day, he will surely die. Seeing that he had not spoken for a long time, one of the Xuani people hesitated for a while, but said, "Your Highness, there is one more thing for your subordinates to report. Most of the people in Yangzhou have been arrested. One of the remaining people is taking refuge, one is struggling, and a small group of people are on the run. Send someone to pick up the team and hold them down." The man Mao color sank a few minutes, silent for a while, just again Wei, "Can drag how long is how long? Isn't this for death in this way?" The two men did not mean to disobey. As soon as the voice fell, the man said, "My subordinates are willing to go." "Well." The man light Mao inside a cool thin. "Your Highness, I beg your pardon. What should I do now about your injury? All the doctors in Yuzhou City are rubbish. Schwani people mention this matter. Tone can't help aggravating a rather angry look. The man didn't open his mouth for a long time. There was a touch of thoughtful color in his eyes. After a long time, he suddenly raised his eyes, and the gloomy color in his eyes was replaced by een. In addition, he could not see the emotion beside him. Nature is still the truth, and the most dangerous place is the safest. Now that we have arrived at the tiger's den, we might as well have a look at the entrance to the tiger. Then he raised his hand suddenly, felt for a while behind his ear, seemed to grasp something, and then gently lifted it towards the front. A human skin mask as thin as cicada wings appeared in his hand. At the same time, an angular and beautiful face was exposed in the air, which was Yen Moli, who should have been in the imperial city. Through the gap of the crystal bead curtain, Mo Shanghua can clearly see the cloud G behind the curtain. At this time, she has woken up. She can't get out of bed yet, but now she has a childlike temperament. Sometimes she is a shrew, and most people can't be deterred. For example, at this time, a coat stood by the bed and said impatiently, "No, the princess has ordered. You can't get out of bed now anyway." When Yunji saw that the servant girl didn't comply, she suddenly changed her face. She looked at the servant girl in a gloomy and strange way. She didn't say anything until she was numb. "Madam, you talk to me like this. Come here, I'll take you down with me." Such a frightening remark came out of the strange-looking Yunji's mouth. The maid didn't doubt the truth of this. She was so weak that she almost fell down. "Yunji, you haven't lost your life. You really want to take people down. I'm afraid it's impossible." Mo Shanghua saw this, then opened the curtain and went in, speechless. The little maid was relieved when she saw the flowers on the street. "It's Yunji. She has a strange face just now." When she sees the flowers on the street, she suddenly screams. She pulls up the brocade quilt and holds a corner of it tightly. The bad guys are coming. Help, help. "No, no, kill you, just kill you, kill you." Yunji's eyes were dull and low, and the more she said, the more excited she was. Her face was frightened and crazy and strange. In such a long time, she suddenly covered her head with brocade, as if she could be completely isolated from the outside world. Has she been like this these 2 days? Cloud G this side is obviously can't talk. Mo Shanghua then turned to look at the small servant girl before. Back to the princess. Since Mrs. Yun woke up in the evening yesterday, she has been dull and silly, but it is not as terrible as it is now. Speaking of the back, the voice of the little servant girl trembled. In this way, Yunji's madness is not too serious, and will be stable for a period of time. There are not many serious cases. Moreover, it seems that every time she is stimulated to get sick, it is because she's so thinking. Mo Shanghua took a handkerchief out, tied it on her cheek, covered her cheek, and then stepped forward. Before the collapse, Qinya anxiously drags the corner of the flower on the street. "Princess, this woman is crazy. I'm afraid she dares to do anything. It's better to be a slave." "You forget again, how can I do a losing business?" Mo Shanghua gives Qinya a reassuring look, then whisks her hand away, and comes forward to lift the brocade quilt. Yunji screamed again, just like a frightened fawn, shrinking towards the foot of the bed in a panic. Mao Guang's panic sweeps on the face of Mo Shanghua and others. He doesn't find Mo Shanghua's face. He suddenly calms down and laughs with his knees. The willow eyebrows on the street can't help frowning. It seems that this is true. However, except that she would give Yunji a tit for tat, she didn't really stimulate her. When she was taken down that day, she didn't see any signs of madness. How could she suddenly go mad now? Is it difficult that someone deliberately harmed her during her absence? Think of this, she can't help but quickly across a flash of light, but before she has time to grasp, there is a little guy outside in a hurry. Reply to the princess, "There is a distinguished guest, please hurry to meet." "What kind of guest do you want me to meet personally?" Mo Shanghua thought about it in his head, so he interrupted, but he turned around and asked a question. Back to the princess. The messenger said, "Yes, His Royal Highness the Second Prince." Now he has been invited into the main hall. The little servant girl's voice fell, and the whole room was shocked. Qinya couldn't help it. She directly asked in surprise, "Are you wrong? Your Highness, the second prince has not returned to the imperial city long ago. How could he be here? It's very important. I dare not lie." The servant girl quickly knelt down to show her loyalty. "Take me quickly." Mo Shanghua feels that it's not easy, but he can't think of a reason for it. It's better to meet her as soon as possible and then make plans. Along the way, she was thinking about why Yen Moli suddenly appeared in Yuzhou, but she didn't receive any news. What made her think more was the person's intention, whether it was good or bad. Although there is worry in the flower heart on the street, it is still walking quickly. When passing by Pingji's residence, it happens that it bumps into him face to face. Pingji looked at the flowers on the street in a hurry. She was very happy. She looked at her and said, "Isn't this the princess? Mu'er, please help me to have a good look. Isn't it wrong for me? Shouldn't the princess be forbidden in the dockyard now? How can she be here?" As her maid, Mu'er naturally cooperated very well. "Madam, your eyes are correct and I can see clearly. This is really a princess." "It's not that I'm dazzled. I'll send my concubines greetings." Pingji, this just a face suddenly blessing body salute, and then also don't wait for the flower on the stranger to open mouth, then woo from the body. However, maidservant but clearly remember, because of Cloud Ji's affair, the princess but voluntarily and South younger sister together band foot, but now but regret, still can't bear lonely came out? The frown on the street was slight and indisputable. Seeing this, Qinya stepped forward and said in a cold voice, "Our princess has a reason to have to come out. Mrs. Shui still doesn't want to stop here. It's better to delay time. When my wife talks to the princess, there is no reason for my servant to interrupt. Can you be a cheap servant who wants to take the princess instead?" Unexpectedly, this time, Pingji was a smiling face with no talent at all. She directly lowered her face and scolded harshly. Qinya choked and opened her mouth, but she didn't know how to refute for a moment. The flower on the street sees this. The cherry lips that tiny pursed this just light stir up, the word is sharp. "My person, how she should also be my business. Don't allow Pingji to take the place of a lesson. It is this little wench that you side should adjust well is." Mu'er has always been loyal. Even if the princess is anxious to find someone to save her face, there is no need to involve an innocent person. Pingji always knew that Hua would fall down this time, so she had no scruple to speak. "Innocent? I remember the day before yesterday, this little girl was making a lot of noise in front of the dockyard. I thought about Pingji's face at that time, so I didn't investigate too much. But now, Pingji, you seem to pay special attention to the rules and ethics of the maidservant, so that you don't get the reputation of being unfaithful and crooked in the future." The flower eyes on the street look at Pingji calmly, but the words they spit out seem to have sharp spikes, which makes Pingji very irritable. She pinched the handkerchief hard and let it go again after a while. She said without a smile, "I'm afraid that the upper beam is not right and the lower beam is crooked. It's a pity that it's not here." Now the princess herself has gone in and out of the palace without permission, regardless of the rules. Are you afraid that this custom can't be brought up in the palace? In my opinion, maybe the whole people of Yuzhou City will fight to be like the princess. It seems that Pingji should really learn the rules. When her black and white eyes looked directly at Pingji, she felt that the development of things was beyond her imagination. Sure enough, in her uneasy eyes, Mo Shanghua looked at her very quietly, with a deep voice. "First of all, there are noble guests in the house. If the Lord is not here, I am the most qualified person in the house. I have to come out to receive them during the forbidden period. You can tell me if I don't come, who is qualified in the mansion, you or the rest of the concubines? Or do you mean to make the palace a laughingstock and make people laugh?" In this way, Pingji's face turned white and angry, but she still had nothing to say. She couldn't speak, but she didn't plan to stop. She simply lowered her face deliberately. Secondly, the matter of Yunji hasn't been decided yet. The position of my princess is still the hostess of the house. You are only a concubine. How can you speak ill to my princess? Don't say there's nothing wrong. Even if there's something wrong, it's not your turn to talk. Chinya, hold her mouth. You Pingji smell speech, almost gas of jump up, clench one's teeth way. You can't so punish me, I just for a moment blunder. Mo Shanghua doesn't want to pay attention to her. She turns around and orders Chinya, you'll punish me here. Later, you'll go to the main hall to find me. If you have any resistance, you'll double it. Princess, don't worry. For those who dare to offend and speak ill of others, I will not be soft-hearted. Chinya immediately and crispy should come down, lip corners can't control schadenfreude slightly up. Mo Shanghua nodded again, for looked at the body slightly shaped some servant girls to stay here, then went to the front hall alone. Seeing this, Chinya winked at the two of them. The two of them knew each other and immediately came forward to suppress Pingji. Flat Ji done when the flower looks pale, struggled twice fruitless, then angry way. A gang of cheap maidservant, quickly get away, my wife is you can touch. Next to the wood sun see, then you go to pick and pull one of the maid's arm, shouting, you still don't let go of madam, careful your dog life. Chinya's eyes passed again, and the two remaining servant girls suppressed Mu. Looking at the master and servant who are struggling and angry, Chinya steps forward slowly. I'm just under orders. I don't dare to touch them. I have to touch them. Madam, forgive me. Said the words of apology, the action in her hand is also merciless ruthlessly fell down, left and right bow, not long, the 10 slaps will be finished. Each of these 10 slaps is extremely heavy, and Pingji's cheek has become red and swollen. Thinking of Pingji's usual arrogance, Chinya pretends to be sorry and says, the princess has also ordered that if there is any resistance, she will be punished twice. Madame Shui and her maidservant have offended. With that, he continued to bow left and right. Pingji had no chance to scold others, so she was beaten again. Her hands were tightly fisted, and her slender nails almost pierced her palms. Her heart was filled with hatred. See your highness the second prince. As soon as Mo Shanghua entered the main hall, he saw a handsome man in Xuani sitting quietly in the main seat. Knowing this, he bowed his eyes and saluted. Princess, you are welcome. Beiqing is the emperor's younger brother of our palace. You are the younger sister. You really don't have to be so polite. Get up quickly. Yen Mo Li see this, immediately put down the tea in the hand, a smile, is very gentle mouth. If it is true that it is still the same as before, the essence of clothing and animals will not change at all. The flower heart in the Mo is very cold to think, but on the face is light way. Thank your highness, just gift can't abandon, minister concubine dare not overstep. While speaking he stood up. Since this is the case, we don't insist on it. Sit down. Yen Mo Li lips smile unchanged, just eyes color slightly deep, it seems to meditate on something. Mo Shanghua just sat down in the position of the next head and looked at Yen Mo Li quietly. However, the eye of the people, it is to let her eyes flash a bit shocked. Is as like as two peas. He is just the same man who had fought yesterday. Even the Xuani bodyguard behind her is the same as the one she fought with yesterday. She has thought that this person's origin must be not simple. She didn't expect it to be taken by surprise. More unprepared is, in this way, some of her details will be exposed in front of Yen Mo Li, which is absolutely not good for her. So think, Mo Shanghua calm eyes this just microwaves, such as quiet Yutan put a fist big stone, set off a wave. The bodyguard was obviously surprised to see the face of the flower on the street, and turned to his master. Yen Mo Li did not seem to see the general, only skin does not smile at Mo Shanghua, success from her eyes to capture surprise, as well as deep thinking, his lips just micro can't check a few radians. What is the princess thinking, so absorbed? As if he didn't know what was on his mind, he asked a little concerned. Mo Shanghua instantly returned to his senses and gently shook his head. Nothing, your highness. By the way, didn't your highness have already returned to the imperial city? Why did he suddenly come all the way? It's a long story. Mention this matter. Yen Emoli seems to think of something, a wry smile, said, "More than a month ago, Miss Lu and I travel half the way, not to the imperial city, then received the imperial edict of the father. According to the imperial edict, there was a traitor in Wenjun Mountain near Yuzhou. He ordered me to go back to fight the rebellion immediately, and sent generals to send Miss Lu back to the imperial city." Speaking of this, he looked more and more depressed. "I didn't want to divide up. There were so many traitors, and they were very crafty. I was defeated from the local troops, and I was seriously injured. I was chased and killed by those traitors, so I had no choice but to go here. Fortunately, they don't dare to fool around in Yuzhou for the time being." Mingming's expression is sincere, but the last sentence seems to have deep meaning, which makes her eyes move and her heart sink. Yen Moli is such a person, she doesn't think it will be so simple. However, it is true that he was seriously injured, and she personally explored it yesterday. As for how this wound came, and Yen Moli's real purpose, I'm afraid it's all related to Yen Beiqing. For today's plan, we have to wait for Yen Beiqing to come back and make a long-term plan. So thinking, Emo Shanghua was very cooperative, and his face was surprised. "What happened? I've lived in Yuzhou for a long time, but I don't know that there's a traitor in Wenjun Mountain, which is only 50 miles away from Yuzhou. It's really short of my knowledge. After all, you're a woman. You're always in the back of the house. Naturally, you can't compete with people who show up every day." Yen Emoli smile, low voice relief. However, a pair of flower-cut water autumn pupil light flash for a moment, but his face is just alienated and polite lip smile, and immediately returned to the usual indifferent appearance. Only her heart is the most clear, Yen Moli that sentence meaning. It seems that he can still remember yesterday clearly, which is a deliberate reminder to her. Yen Moli but look as usual, suddenly think of what General Mao Guang turned in the hall. How not to see the North City? To be honest with your highness, I went to Wujuan with the princess a few days ago. When I came back, the prince thought the scenery there was strange and different from here, so he said he would stay a few more days and have a good time. Emo Shanghua had expected it for a long time. Naturally, he was able to deal with it freely, and his words were full of helplessness. Wang Yi has always been such a temperament and unrestrained. I've been married to Yuzhou for so long, and I always see him playing outside all day long. I will repair my books later. Please come back. Don't blame your highness. No way. Yen Emoli is very understanding smile. The temperament of North City this temple is also clear. Childhood he is so, always like novelty and interesting things, such a childlike heart, but extremely rare. I don't mind. The flowers on the street gathered their eyes and responded with neither humble nor overbearing. At this time, Qinya had finished the explanation of Emo Shanghua. She came in to face Yen Emo and Li Fu. Then she came to Emo Shanghua's side and said in a low voice, "Princess, things have been done." When the maidservant came, the people around Pingji had already asked for a doctor. Pingji didn't accept it before, but later she was a lot more honest. "Well done." The delicate mandible of the flower on the street is a little bit, and the words are spoken in a low voice. After a pause, his eyes fell on Yen Moli, and his voice recovered as usual. "Qinya, go to make arrangements for a secluded place in the mansion. I'm sending someone to invite a doctor. Later, I'll go to the Second Highness for consultation." Second Highness? Qinya was surprised. He didn't expect that this distinguished guest was such a distinguished guest. He stared at Yen Emo in shock. Presumptuous. The bodyguard behind Yen Emo Li's body saw this and immediately swept his eyebrows and scolded. Qinya suddenly turned back and knelt down with a pu-tong sound. "I'm sorry, Your Highness." The flower eyebrow on the Mo heart tiny Siu also busily opened a mouth to beg for mercy. "Your Highness, this wench has no knowledge. First time see you such big person. This is so. I go back to will teach well. Also hope Your Highness don't want to care with her. Since there is no intention to lose, naturally there is no need to investigate. Go on." Yen Moli raised his hand to the bodyguard behind him, and the bodyguard immediately retreated. "Thank you for your grace." Chinya was relieved, grateful to see a flower on the street, and hurried down like a frightened cat. As he walked, he could not help thinking that these two princes were ordinary people, but his bodyguards were too fierce. There were only a few people left in the house. The flower in the street has never talked much. No one spoke, so he held a cup of tea and lowered his head to drink. His eyes drooped. The long and thick eyelashes, like a fan, covered up the look inside her eyes, making people unable to see what she thought clearly. "By the way, we have already sent a message to our father about the current situation. We will have to wait for some time before we can reply to the letter. During this period, I'm afraid we'll be harassing here for a while." The house was quiet for a long time. Yen Mo suddenly raised his eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. He opened his mouth with a smile and a kind face. Flying pigeons have always been very fast in transmitting letters. If they want to stop them, it's also very difficult. Coupled with his sudden arrival, the carrier pigeons already don't know where to go. In this way, although he was far away in Yuzhou, Mo Shanghua and others had to worry about his safety. Otherwise, if something happened to him in Yuzhou, he would only be put on the head of Mo Shanghua Yanbeiqing. However, it also shows another thing. He must be suspicious of Yanbei City. The color of the flower eyes on the street remained unchanged, and he said with a smile, "Your Highness and the Lord are brothers, and the Lord's residence is as long as you want. I think the Lord has been busy for a long time. I'm tired. Why don't I send someone to pass on the meal first? After the meal, the residence should be cleaned up and ready to move in. In this way, we are not polite." Yen Nemoli is very generous and decent smile. Without Yanbei City, the flowers on the street can't be talked about by others. When eating, she can only accompany each other. After a lunch, she only feels that her mouth is sour because she keeps talking. After lunch, Yen Moli went back to her residence for a while, and then she was able to breathe and go back to the dockyard to have a rest. Thinking about what's happening together at the moment, Yen Moli, who doesn't know the purpose, develops a medicine to cure Qin Lin and Qinya. Yunji's illness is not urgent. She can make plans when she's almost recovered. Just two things in front of her make her frown and get a little irritable. Jiang He can't keep it for long, but it's not a big problem to have the classics sent by Lu Zheng. Only Yen Moli made her feel a little irritable for the first time. She thought that when she met Yen Moli, she had been in Yuzhou for many years, not to mention Plump Wings, and would not be so unstable as now. It's really eventful. Qinya brought a small celadone cup and put it in front of Mo Shanghua. With a little curiosity, she said, "Is the princess worried about her second highness? It's strange that he's here. How can I not worry?" At the thought of this, the frown on the street was uncontrollable, and the object in front of him didn't move. The princess used to say that the soldiers came to block the water and cover the land. What's more, the second highness's intention is very clear on the surface, and there is nothing special to care about at the moment. Why do you worry too much? Just look for someone to watch carefully. Qinya sees this, the clear pupil bone Lu turns, like this persuades. Mo Shanghua frowned and thought about it. She repeated Qinya's words in her heart. After a while, she relaxed her eyebrows. "What you said is very reasonable. Maybe it's time for the soldiers to block. There are too many things in these days. I don't know what I'm thinking." Qinya pushed the cup in front of Mo Shanghua. Her eyes were full of worry. "The princess hasn't had a good rest these days. I'm afraid it's because of this. It's Anshan soup. You might as well have a rest and get up to do something else." Mo Shanghua's delicate chin tiny point cast a reassuring look at her. "I'll drink later, you go down first." The princess must remember. Qinya is not at ease to see her one eye, just took the tray down. Mo Shanghua did not drink tea. She got up and went to the desk. She took a piece of writing paper and flattened it on the desk. Then she studied the ink in person. She picked up a pen and began to write on the writing paper. The content of the letter is very simple, only a short sentence. The second prince suddenly visited and returned immediately after seeing the letter. Apart from that, she did not mention anything else. nor did she ask for a reply. After that, she put away the letter paper, got up to sweep the table, left the bedroom and went to a quiet place in the hospital. After looking around, she said, "Come out, I know you've been there." The word sound falls down. Two Xian dressed dark Wei just suddenly appear, cover to go to Mao inside surprised. In front of Mo Shanghua bend over to salute. Subordinate wait for the order of the Lord secretly protect the princess. Don't know what the princess has to order. Give this to your master. Mo Shanghua was not coy, but took out the letter paper directly. One of the dark Weis stretched out his hand to take over, very simply low should be, "Yes, what else does the princess have to command?" Mo Shanghua wanted them to stare at Yen Moli when Yen Beiqing didn't come back, but on second thought, they must be alert, so they shook their heads. The two dark guards were waiting to retreat. Suddenly, their eyes flashed and they called them, "Wait, there are some effective girls in the house." She didn't believe in the power of Yen Beiqing. There were only these mysterious dark guards. He must have trained some other talents. The dark Wei hesitated when he was young, and the dark Wei next to him bumped him with his elbow, silently reminding him. Yen Beiqing had given orders before. If the princess had orders, they would try their best to finish them. Although they didn't tell them, they should obey them. Dark Wei Wu thought about it, and then said, "Back to the princess, there are several girls in the East Pavilion who are still smart." Mo Shanghua's eyes flickered slightly, his face was not clear, and his tone was somewhat tentative. "If I want to choose some of them to serve my second highness for the time being." This time, the dark Wei simply said, "You are the princess, the main house of the size of the matter, the people of the house should naturally listen to your dispatch." The shimmering light in the beautiful eyes of Mo Shanghua turned into a deep color. She nodded and let the dark guard go down. Then he immediately ordered Qinya to go to the East Pavilion to pick some smart people and send them to Yen Moli. They were called servants, but they were actually surveillance. Instead of sending people to watch quietly and being found dead, it's better to send people in a big way. The people who are trained in Yenbei City should not be so easy to show their feet. After ordering everything, Mo Shanghua shut himself up in the house again, holding the classics sent by Lu Zheng to study, and even didn't use dinner. "Sister Nanha, I'll send this letter for you, but I didn't send the princess's letter. I really don't know what I wrote. Don't make it difficult for me." The dark Wei, who has been in charge of contacting Yen Beiqing, frowns and opens his mouth. The south crane slightly raised the chin, the eyebrows increased a few minutes cool color. "How, you plan to send me so again? Don't forget, in terms of status, I'm 2 levels higher than you. I really can't command you? If it's not for the sake of concealing the flaws, and for Yen Beiqing to see her friendship for him, she doesn't bring any of her subordinates. Why talk to this man now? Sister Nanha, although you are 2 levels older than me, you and I are not in the same department. I'm sorry I can't obey your orders." Dark Wei's face was a little bit cold, and his tone was a lot stiff. "It's really good." There was a touch of warm anger in the eyes of the South Crane. After a long silence, his voice softened a little, and he said with a smile, "I'm sorry, I'm just too eager. You know my friendship with the Lord. That's what it is. You don't want to see strange talent." Dark Wei sees this. Complexion this just relaxed a few. South Crane elder sister since said so, I naturally didn't hold to don't put of reason. South Crane lips angle smile deepened a few su, eyes Ying contain autumn. "You and I are always the same person on the Lord. Can you read the past love? Put my letter forward some?" Dark Wei pondered for a moment. "Just Wei. Such a simple thing can barely do." South Crane elder sister is at ease. It's no secret that Nanhe has been happy with Yen Beiqing for many years. She is in love with Yen Beiqing, and he doesn't refuse. "Well, thank you very much." The South Crane immediately smile of eyebrow eyes all bent a few su, usually that just like kale and flower kind of arrogance as if with the wind scattered general, half cent also can't find, lining cheek more and more delicate. Even the dark Wei in the heart can't help but be in a trance for a while, then react to come over, hurriedly say hello, turn round to hide with the garden again. With no one around, the radiance of the South Crane's lips was gradually flattened, and the look in his eyes was completely dark. He pinched an open jasmine in the garden with hatred and anger, but in an instant, she was pinched and twisted in her population, and the juice stuck in her hands, and she didn't feel it. After a while, she released her hand, looked down at the deformed and twisted residual flowers in her hands, and said with red lips, "You'll see, I will surely make your end more tragic than this flower, and then I will be alone in the branches, protected by him, loved and laughed at your tragic ending." In the afternoon, the sun was dazzling, and everywhere was warm. Only her delicate cheek was covered by the cloak, which made her face more gloomy and cool. The night is deep, but the bedroom with flowers on the street is still brightly lit. Chinya, holding her chin and another little girl, was outside the house. Looking at the candles still not extinguished in the house, she couldn't help sighing. The princess is almost like this every day these days. How can she stand it? No, today's dinner is useless. I don't know what I'm doing now. How can I stand it for a long time? Another servant girl sees this, also followed to echo 2 sentences. The princess's temper is useless to persuade. How can it be good? Speaking of this, Chinya can't help but feel sad again, remorse and worry in her heart. After all, Emo Shanghua didn't sleep at this time, so she was studying how to treat her and her brother's illness. When they heard the conversation, they didn't know what they thought. They suddenly stopped. When they raised their eyes, they were gone. Emo Shanghua in the room is now playing with a medicinal plant, not to mention the movement outside the window. Even the conversation between Chinya outside the bedroom is not in the ear, selfless research. After a long time, she wanted to put down the herb and read the classics carefully, but she suddenly felt that there was someone behind her. Before she could react, she was hugged directly from behind, and her whole body was encircled in that person's arms. A sense of familiarity poured into her heart. Around as so, she still can't help struggling twice, low voice way, "Yan Beiqing, you let me go. It seems that the princess is really true love for me. I guess it's me." In the past, Yan Beiqing's low but frivolous voice came from behind, which made Emo Shanghua's face burn and struggle harder. "You let go." Yan Beiqing was holding a food box in his hand. For fear of overturning the food box, he could only relax his hand and stare at the flowers on the street with some grievances. "I haven't seen you for a long time. The princess is so mean even in her arms. It's really sad." Emo Shanghua just turned around, but before she could answer, Chinya, who was supposed to be guarding the night outside, suddenly pushed the door and burst in. As soon as she came in, her eyes fell anxiously on Emo Shanghua. What happened? But there was something wrong. Before he had finished his sentence, he glanced at Yan Beiqing, and his mouth suddenly surprised as if he could put an egg in it. Emo Shanghua is nothing, but Yan Beiqing stares at Chinya with displeased eyebrows. "Don't you go out yet?" Chinya came back to China. She lowered her head and quickly stepped back to close the door. The little servant girl who didn't dare to go in just now came and asked curiously, "Sister Chinya, what happened inside? How did you come out again?" "It's nothing, but it's something the princess made by accident." Chinya's eyes and nose care, but she doesn't know what to do. As he said this, he took the little servant girl to the distance. "There's no need to guard here. Let's go further." No matter how confused she was, she would not say a word more. Yan Beiqing in the house saw that someone had left, and his sword eyebrows were smoothed. He snorted unhappily. Then he took the food box to the pearwood round table, opened the food box and took out the contents one by one. "It's not a delicacy. It's just 2 plates of simple cakes and a cup of hot tea. The tea is especially sweet. I came to the house so late, and there was nothing to eat in the kitchen. So I used these cushions first, and you came to eat with me." Then he took a piece of cake and ate it with great interest. Emo Shanghua came over and sat down beside him, staring at the tea and snacks in front of him, but he didn't move. How can there be hot tea in the kitchen in the middle of the night? Yen North City Mao inside rare flash a tiny light, on the face is very indifferent excuse, "I want to drink tea," also used to see time? When the flowers in the street heard the words, their doubts suddenly disappeared, but they still didn't move the cake. I'm not hungry. Just eat it yourself and don't disturb me. Now it's late. I'll talk to you tomorrow. She thought that the flowers on the street must have come back quickly after receiving the letter. In addition to the current time, according to ordinary people's thinking, it's time to have a good rest. With that, she got up and planned to go back to the bookcase and continue to study. Before taking a few steps, Yen Beicheng put down the cake, got up, grabbed her slender wrist and pulled her into his arms. Emo Shanghua's half-body was attached to Yen Beicheng's body. Through the thin material, he clearly felt the cold air from outside. Her heart suddenly a-startle, also have no time to struggle, subconsciously then pull his wrist, plain hand puts in his pulse. How so cool. In this case, it is very easy to catch cold. It's a bit chilly outside. I've always been strong. I'm not in the way. Although Yenbei's head was still so frivolous, his face was not. He can't help but droop his eyes, looking at the flower on the street who is paying attention to her pulse. Suddenly, his heart moves. The other hand around the flower's waist is quietly released, and his body also retreats 2 steps, not letting the cold on his body pass the flower on the street. Emo Shanghua thought that he was swept by himself, but he didn't think deeply. For a long time, her shallow frown eyebrows slowly spread. It really doesn't matter. I told you, but you don't believe it. Yen North City lips a hook, toward her show Yen a smile, pull her to sit down again. Your face this king looks is not good, what thing and wait for tomorrow to do, now you must accompany this king to use up these snacks, accompany this king to sleep. The flowers on the street and willow eyebrows pick slightly, and say leisurely, eat with me and sleep with me, Yenbei City, what's your idea? It's not that I heard that you didn't have dinner and didn't sleep well, which is a casual excuse. Thinking about this, he crossed a dark color at the bottom of his quiet eyes. You are the princess of the king. These are your duties as husband and wife. He seems to be careless to Shangyan Beicheng, but in fact, his eyes are deep, and he can't distinguish his emotions clearly. The flowers on the street suddenly choke. On the surface, it seems that there is really no problem. Seeing that the flowers on the street were not right, Yen Beicheng's deep eyes couldn't help skipping a faint smile. He raised his hand and pinched a piece of hibiscus cake to her lips. It's not too cold. Here, come and have a taste. At that time, the candlelight in the house was warm, reflecting on Yen Beicheng's facial features as if it were an elaborate sculpture. The scarlet birthmark on his side face was like the setting sun on his face. It was clear and vivid as if he was alive. On the contrary, he felt that the flower on the street was not ugly, and it seemed more and more beautiful. Do you want the king to put it in your mouth? Yen Beicheng saw that she didn't swallow it for a long time. Instead, she went away and began to speak displeased. Emo Shanghua, this just came back to mind, subconsciously raised his hand to touch his flat belly, raised his hand to take it, slowly eat her up. How can she not be hungry without dinner? She didn't want to go to dinner because she had put all her mind on that volume of classics, so as not to waste her time. Now it's obviously different. In Yen Beicheng's usual style, even if she really doesn't eat, he will have all kinds of ways to disturb her, so that she can't continue to study. So, it's better to treat your stomach better. Seeing that Emo Shanghua was finally willing to eat, Yen Beicheng felt inexplicably relieved and pushed the tea to Emo Shanghua. He rarely calmed down and quietly watched Emo Shanghua eat. It wasn't until Emo Shanghua had almost eaten and drank the tea that he realized that Yen Beicheng didn't seem to have taken a few bites. You brought it to me on purpose? Emo Shanghua raised her eyes to see him and asked lightly. Yen Beicheng jumped in his heart, but his face didn't change much. I just can't eat it. I specially brought it to you? I've been running all the way. How can I have such a leisurely mind? Emo Shanghua is just dull, not stupid. He doesn't believe it. He can't help looking at him suspiciously. You said that you have been running all the way, and at this moment, you must have come back quickly. In this case, how can you still have time to eat well? You see, I'm so thin. I don't eat much. Yen Beicheng smiles and cheekily talks nonsense. Mo Shanghua is used to Yan Beiqing's impudence, so he has no intention to study deeply. Now that she mentioned the matter of coming back, she asked, "Did you come here quickly after you received my letter?" "Letter? Did you send a letter?" Yan North City pick eyebrow, seem to be don't know. "Don't you see? Then how?" Yan Beiqing thought about it quickly. Then he thought that he got the news early this morning. Yan Moli appeared in the city and worried about what he would do in Yuzhou City. He left everything behind and rushed back. He didn't know in advance about his return. The letter from Mo Shanghua must have been sent after that. Naturally, "I miss you so much that I come back quickly." Thinking of this in his heart, he hooked his lips on his face and looked at her very vaguely. "What did the princess write to the king? Why don't you tell me?" Mo Shanghua looked at Yan Beiqing, frowning into a group of eyebrows, not only did not ease, but more tight. "You this person how so strange, just refused to admit that it is specially for me to bring food, but now again and again said miss me, happy already is it difficult to become you are actually a man of duplicity?" The phoenix eyes of Yanbei City, which had not changed for thousands of years, finally had some waves. For example, when Xiaoshi was thrown at half of them, the waves were not big, but it was also obvious that she was a little shy, and could not say a word to refute. Mo Shanghua looked at Yan Beiqing's fresh appearance. She could not help leaning forward and staring at him seriously. "This is the first time I saw something else in your eyes. It seems that you are not without weakness." Yan Beiqing suddenly became more and more embarrassed. Shua stood up, raised his eyes and looked at the bonsai in the distance. This king is also an ordinary person, how can he have no weakness? He was also awakened by the word flowers on the street. It turned out that he really had weaknesses. It's not because Mo Shanghua said something so thoughtless, but she is a man. Mo Shanghua raised his lips slightly and stood up in front of him. "I said, why did you always tease me before? It turns out that the fun is really very intriguing." Looking at the smile in front of him, the flowers on the street, Yan Beiqing's eyes crossed the dangerous dark on, and the embarrassment in his eyes was also pressed down. Naturally, there is fun, but it's always led by the king. Voice just fell, then a long arm stretch, the flowers on the street to his arms. The flowers on the street suddenly lift their eyes, and they forget to struggle with the bright eyes just like the moonlight. Yan Beiqing was also looking down at her. At such a close distance, there was only one idea in his heart. It turned out that her face was so small that it seemed that he could cover it with one hand. There are her people, also seems to be too thin, in the future must give her a good tonic is. When the flowers on the street suddenly come back to me, they have been directly held up by Yanbei City. What are you going to do? Mo Shanghua was in a panic, for fear that he would be a beast at this time. Do the right thing. Yan Beiqing knew her fear, but deliberately picked lips, ambiguous answer. Mo Shanghua's body suddenly froze. Before he could react, he was put down by Yan Beiqing. But he, a royal son born with dignity, bent down and took off her shoes. "You." The flower on the street was surprised by his action and stared at him. For a moment, he didn't know how to deal with himself. "I'm tired. I want to have a rest. You can go there quickly." Before returning from such tenderness and carefulness, Yan Beiqing's words brought her back to reality. Just now, she was just a master of kung fu. Yan Beiqing took off his shirt and stood in front of her in a thin Chinese dress, ready to go to bed. The flower on the street saw that the trance disappeared and frowned. "I don't need to rest. You can go to bed." Then he looked down for the shoes. Before his feet touched her shoes, Yan Beiqing raised his feet and kicked her shoes far away, then directly took off his boots and threw them aside, holding her and lying down. "You," Mo Shanghua raised his hand and pushed his chest, his ears turned red quietly. "Go to sleep." Yan Beiqing just vomited a word briefly, pulled the quilt to cover for two people, then closed his eyes, without any side action. Mo Shanghua's hand moves and looks at Yan Beiqing's sleeping face, which is so close to Yan Beiqing that she has some helplessness in her heart. "I must be too tired." She whispered a word and put light action, trying to struggle for a while, only to find that it is asleep. His arm is like an iron wall, tightly around her. Emo Shanghua was afraid to disturb him, so she gave up the struggle, sighed helplessly, turned her back, and then closed her eyes and went to sleep peacefully. As soon as she turned around, Yan Beiqing's eyes opened. He looked at the back of Emo Shanghua's head. A smile flashed in his eyes. He held Emo Shanghua's hand tightly, and then closed his eyes again. A night without a dream. When I wake up the next day, Yanbei City is no longer there. Only Qinya smiles and looks at her vaguely. Qinya, did you smoke your eyes? Emo Shanghua hugs Jean Quilt to sit up. The skin does not smile of spit out a words. Not only was Yan Beiqing not angry, but his eyebrows and eyes were smiling more and more, like a new moon. Princess, do you know that the Lord came back to the city this morning, but the maid saw it yesterday, and he clearly went back last night? She did not continue to say the following words, but the ambiguous eyes were enough to explain everything. Hearing the words, the flower in the street was embarrassed. She was a little annoyed and said, "The words are more and more. That day, you should stay in Wujuan and let your brother come back with you." Princess, are you angry now? Qinya was not afraid of half a cent, and she went forward with a smile. Emo Shanghua raised her hand and pressed the center of her eyebrows, but said, "Okay, clean up, I'm going to get up. Maidservant is ready long ago." Qinya smiles, turns around and goes out for a moment, then puts the washing utensils in the room. Emo Shanghua nodded, took the clothes and dressed slowly. Qinya knew that Emo Shanghua didn't like other people's help in dressing, so the Marquis stood aside and said, "After the Lord came back this morning, he had a chat with His Second Highness, and then he went back to have a rest. This morning, Mrs. Ping went to see her." "Can you see it?" Emo Shanghua's heart moved. He asked a question that he didn't care about in the past. Qinya couldn't help but chuckle. "Princess, don't worry, the Lord didn't see her at all." Emo Shanghua nodded, then he got up and went to clean up. Qinya followed her and waited on her. She couldn't help joking, "Doesn't the princess want to know the details?" Emo Shanghua turned her eyes and glared at her. "I've got so many things on me now. How can I have time to listen to these gossip? Do you really want to go to Wujuan for a while?" "Good princess, I know I'm wrong. If I don't say it, it's not." Seeing this, Qinya immediately begged for mercy and said nothing else. Qinya knows that Yanbei City is back, so does Nanha. She didn't know how to think about it. She ran out of the hospital without stopping her feet. She changed into a simple and elegant dress and knelt outside the hospital with a posture of taking off her hairpin. The little fellow who was guarding outside didn't dare to pass on the news for a long time. First of all, Nanji and Moshanghua are obviously falling out now, and Moshanghua's wrist is so determined. It's said that Pingji was punished yesterday. No one in the house is afraid of offending Moshanghua. Second, although the Lord likes his wife, he has just had a rest after a long journey. He is even more afraid of disturbing the Lord. His life is not guaranteed. Nanji was just kneeling. She didn't speak since she said she wanted to see the Lord. Just, with the passage of time, the face is more and more white, thin body seems to be able to fall down at any time. Seeing this, he had to bite his teeth and went in to pass the news. Yan Beiqing was lying on the collapse, holding a cover in his hand to write, "Read the book of miscellaneous records of various countries." After listening to the little C's biography, he ran across a shade in the deep of his pupils, and his face was still frivolous. "My wife has been kneeling outside for a long time, and now you come to biography, aren't you impatient? I don't want to invite people in yet." Little C in the heart this just silently relaxed a breath. "Yes, slave this go." After a while, Nenny came in with the boy. Looking at the person who has been missing for many days, Nanhi's pale and clear face is a bit sour, and his eyes are red. "I've seen Wang Yi Jinan." Seeing this, Yan Beiqing threw the book in his hand and quickly stepped to Nanji's body and lifted her up. How could he be so pale, but he was ill? Nanha nibbled his lower lip and shook his head slowly. My concubine just missed the prince so much that she didn't eat well. The princess controlled the house very well and was very generous to everyone. It seems to be a compliment, but in fact it is a deliberate complaint. It's easy to tell that there is something fishy about it, but people can't help sighing that Mrs. Nan is really kind. Ming Ming has been banned and framed by the princess, and she is still speaking for the princess. Yan Beiqing's eyes deepened a little, but she just didn't understand. She said, "The princess is always a person who knows the general, and she is not too bad to others. These days, with a princess to take care of you, I can rest assured." The South Crane's heart was filled with depression, but he had to smile just right. "What the Lord said is that my maid and concubine are new here. I'm afraid I can't get a foothold in the mansion so soon without the care of the princess these days." After a pause, she said with a smile, "But I came here for the sake of the princess." "What's the matter? Just say it slowly. Come on, sit down first and have a rest." Yan Beiqing's smile remained unchanged. He took her hand and sat down in front of the soft collapse. Then he turned his eyes and looked at the young man who was still clubbing on one side. "Go to pass on the breakfast, and everyone else will step down. I still have a lot to say to Mrs. Nan. Before, she was his concubine, but after, she was only his subordinate. If everyone left, she would be a subordinate again. How could the play go on? Lord, when I came here, I had already eaten too early. I don't need to eat any more." The South Crane drags Yan Beiqing's sleeve robe, very understanding opening. "Then make 2 hot teas." Yan Beiqing man smiles with a flattering smile. The maidservant Ho is envious of him. He is too busy to step back for fear that he will affect their relationship here. Seeing this, the young man quickly stepped back. At the moment when all the people in the house go down, the dark guard has been quietly paying attention to the outside of the house, in case someone has ears. As soon as he was gone, Yan Beiqing's doting color faded little by little, and his clear and penetrating eyes gradually turned to deep, unpredictable appearance. Even the radiance of his lips, and his eyebrows and eyes were cold, as if they were a different person. South Crane Heart Alin hurriedly back a few steps, and Yenbei City to keep the distance. "Face gentle do fade, Lord." Yan Beiqing looked at her with no expression on his face. He couldn't see any emotion in his eyes. Why did he take off his hairpin in the morning? He was obviously asking questions, and his tone was very calm, as if he was just describing a very simple thing. The South Crane raises Mao to look at Yen North City. The voice is slightly low. "Originally come to beg a crime, now don't have to. If you have to say that, I think you should be clear, my lord." Yan Beiqing is as clear and intelligent as he is. I'm afraid she knows what she wants from the time she mentions the flower in the street, and from the time he pretends not to understand what she says. Yan Beiqing stared at her in silence for a long time, and then suddenly said, "Your courage and knowledge have improved a lot today." South Crane hook lips, pull out a wry smile, is not afraid of subordinates, but subordinates too much understanding of the Lord, just as the Lord knew my purpose in general. It was a long time of silence. After a long time, Yan Beiqing began to speak slowly, and his voice dropped a few degrees. "As you are now in the mansion, it's okay for you to move anyone, and I won't ask too much. It's just that your idea should never hit her." Although Nanha had doubts for a long time, now he felt a dull pain in his heart when he heard what Yan Beiqing said. After a while, she bit her lip and said, "The Lord has been thinking about her for a long time, right?" However, Yan Beiqing didn't cheat her as she imagined. He just turned around without expression, nodded without expression, yes. But a slight nod, a word-only answer, but completely shot her down in the abyss, physical and mental pain. She couldn't help but lift her eyes and touch the position of her heart. She asked incredulously, "I've been with you for so many years. Seeing you grow up step by step, can't compare with the months you just met her?" It's like asking yourself, and it's like a heart-splitting question. Yan Beiqing was still looking at her with no emotion. He took out a bright yellow memorial from his sleeve and put it on the table. "I'm not interested in what you think. I only know that you should have a good look at it. Come and see if it's written by you." Nanhe squeezed the palm of his hand, then forced down the surging emotion in his heart. Then he came forward and took the memorial and opened it. The memorial was presented to the imperial city. It was signed 5 days ago. Except for the brief description of the Wujuan incident, the rest of the contents were all about the accusation and the letter of guilt. The writer of the memorial was a stranger. The contents are the same as those discussed by Hua Qianlu and Hua Shanghua when they discussed how to solve the problem of Wujuan. They even wrote clearly about the request to abolish the throne of princess. The handwriting is also very imaginative with the flowers on the street. Those who are very familiar with it also need to look carefully to distinguish them. South Crane body suddenly as stiff, holding the hands of the memorial, biting lips speechless. You are very good at imitating other people's handwriting. Even my handwriting you can look the same. I'm afraid this memorial is from you. She didn't open her mouth, but Yen Beiqing didn't plan to give her more opportunities to hesitate. She said in a cold voice, "With your intelligence, it's easy to replace the memorial. If there is no accident in the middle of the journey, the memorial will be sent to the imperial city smoothly. Next, I'm afraid my princess will be replaced." In front of Yen Beiqing, the slightest disguise and excuse of Nanhe was futile. Therefore, she just pinched the memorial tightly and didn't speak for a long time. In fact, she does not know how to explain now, so that Yen Beiqing can trust her again. He didn't say that, but Yan Beiqing didn't plan to stop. He took out another secret letter and threw it in front of her, "And this is also from your hand. And that day, it was just when you failed to frame the princess and nearly came to light. You worried that things would spread to me, so you did the same thing again and changed the secret letter that day." After a pause, his breath suddenly cooled down, which made people feel like falling into the ice cellar. "Now, you want to take advantage of the villain to complain first, so I have to punish the princess. Any one of these is a felony." "What felony?" Nanhe felt Yen Beiqing's anger, and the pain in his heart became more and more clear. A stream of gas in his heart rushed out, and he couldn't help saying, "We're not really that kind of relationship. I'm just one of your subordinates who came here to cooperate with you. What's wrong with me to cooperate with you and interpret the fight in the backyard incisively and vividly?" "Cooperate with me?" Yen Beiqing's face sank completely, his lips curled with a cold smile. "Since you say so, I will tell you clearly that she is not only the princess of you, but also my wife and your only daughter. If a murderer is found in the master, he should be punished for his crime. The only mistress, you're your wife." The South Crane suddenly a zheng, can't help but lung of murmur a voice. The brain is like a bang to open generally, the remaining words in the brain, and Yen Beiqing never had cold face. As usual, even if he had no intention of her, he had never been like this. He had the same attitude towards everyone, and she didn't feel so sad. Now, he will question him for a woman, blame her for a woman, and be angry with her for that woman. What a competent husband he should be for that woman. But for such a woman who has loved him for many years, how cruel it is. The South Crane one hand tightly grasps own heart place clothes she lapel, pinches the clothes in front of the chest all change the shape, the slender direct nearly will the clothes lapel all poke a hole. It's only a few months. How can it be so fast? What's good about that woman, and what's worse about me? For a long time, Nanhe tried to force the tears back into his eyes. I'm not inferior to her in appearance and talent. Even if I'm inferior to her in martial arts, there are many better than her in other aspects. I've been around you for so many years. Isn't such a me enough to leave a place in your heart? She a pair of reserved eyes at this time dim a lot, eyes still have water light, but stubborn refuse to fall. What's the matter with me? In my eyes only she is the best. That's enough. The South Crane is so pitiful, but Yen Beiqing doesn't look at it. He just utters words without emotion, and even has no shadow of her in his eyes. The heart, which has been stabbed with thousands of swords, suddenly broke into countless petals, almost choking with pain. Originally, a person does not love you, no matter how good you are, his eyes are without you. eyes more sour, tears filled the eyes. She quickly raised her head, but tears or down the eyes. In addition to the pain, the hatred in her heart also grew uncontrollably. He had never spoken so harshly to her. All this was brought by that woman. She wished she could destroy that woman's face and cut off her flesh one by one. Only in this way could she be defeated. One day, she will know that woman by herself. What she can't get, he doesn't want to stay with her forever, and everyone doesn't want to have a good time. Thinking about this, then he suddenly raised his skirt and knelt down. His chin was slightly raised, and his look in his eyes was restored to its former lofty and clear. The Lord is right, and all his subordinates recognize it. Please punish them according to the law. Nan, he is willing to be punished. Yen Beiqing didn't answer immediately. His eyes were very deep. He couldn't see what he thought. It was very deep. I said, Brother Beiqing, how can you have the heart to punish such a beautiful girl? If I were you, I'd rather not. It was the silence inside the house when a clear and smiling voice came in from outside. When I look up, I see that Hua Qianlu is walking slowly towards the house with a slow and lazy pace, smiling on his face and shaking his folding fan regularly, just like a white-faced young man who is walking in the garden. Yen Beiqing frowned slightly and looked up at him. Why are you here? At the moment, Yen Moli is still in the mansion, and it is not appropriate for Hua Qianlu to come at this time. Don't worry. No one can see me around. Are you sure you can do my martial arts? Flower Willow mood is not affected, very leisurely sat down beside him. Brother Beiqing, little beauty Nanha is infatuated with you. You can write that Taishu refuses to accept it. Now how can you be willing to pay a heavy penalty? Let's make the penalty lighter for the sake of my son. Although the tone is still casual, Yen Beiqing's heart is clear. He is afraid that he will kill Nanha and make a bad move in his anger. South Crane kneels on the ground, neither beg for mercy, nor agree, just droop eyebrows. The color of irony in his eyes is very clear, but no one can see it. Hua Qianlu looked at Nanha and Yen Beiqing, who had no expression on his face. Seeing that both of them didn't speak, he said, Nanha is wrong, but it's still your people. The punishment is heavy, but it's not good. Anyway, I want to protect this beauty today. Mouth said so, but the eyes did not see the slightest color of pity. I have my own discretion. Yen Beiqing didn't look at him, and his eyes were deep and unpredictable. Nan, he's unforgivable for his murder of his mother. He's thinking about his past achievements and won't be severely punished. Go and get 100 lashes yourself. If you go down with 100 lashes, I'm afraid you'll lose your life. Brother Beiqing, in my opinion, it's better to go down with 80. When Hua Qianlu saw this, she closed her folding fan and continued to plead. She looked like a fox with a smile on her eyes, but there was only one piece of indifference and no pity. Yanbei City is also half-moved, voice cold without any emotion. The people around you are not very dedicated. It's time to change, Moling. As soon as the voice fell, Mo Ling flashed out from the dark and knelt down respectfully. What's the Lord's command? Yen North Cityside head looked at Mo Ling, continued to face expressionless mouth, send people in the East Pavilion to pick a few to send over, then said that the people around the South Crane can't serve well, close several need to change. In this way, it is necessary to monitor her. Nanha's slender hand, which is hanging down on the skirt corner, tightly grasps the skirt corner and makes it white between his fingers. In the final analysis, it's not to protect that woman. The Lord is really attentive to her, but she is a dispensable person who can be disposed of at will. Mo Ling looked at Nanhe's thin body, but hesitated. Lord, that 100 whip is enough, this. If there is a plea, it will be punished at the same time. Yen Beiqing has not yet waited for her to finish, then interrupts directly. Now, the status of Mo Shanghua in his heart is extraordinary. He didn't have time to protect her. How can he let her be framed again and again by others? Even if she is not very human, she can always speak. If these troubles were to be solved, he would not be afraid of 10,000. He would not allow the possibility of such things to happen again. He would try his best to level up anything against her. Mo Ling sees this, complexion immediately a Lin, hang down ahead to come, is. With that he flashed back. Hua Qianlu didn't intervene at this time. She opened the folding fan again and shook it gently, looking like a play. Although he seems to have feelings everywhere, in fact, he is also a very heartless person. If it wasn't for Nanha, he didn't plan to intervene. The South Crane clenched the skirt, slightly relaxed, slightly took a breath, bent down to kneel down, but clenched the lip, did not say a word. Before Yen Beiqing spoke, she got up, turned around and walked out slowly. Her face was paler than when she just went in. There was no one in the house. Hua Qianlu came over with a smile and joked, "It seems that your tail is not clean enough. People have come to your house and you live in your house. You can't point out the poison on him. In the future, you have to find Xiaoma Hua to solve it." Yen Beiqing just eased a little, and his face became more and more dark. He was already a turtle in my urn. If it hadn't been for some accidents, I would have come back later, and he would not have had a chance to live to the palace. It's no accident. You're still waiting for him. Flower thousand willow lip angle radian more and more big, very is schadenfreude appearance. Yen Beiqing turned his eyes and looked at the flower willow. There were no waves or waves in his eyes, but there was a deterrent force in it. The back of the flower willow was cold. Yen Beiqing looked back and lifted his thin lip. But it's good to eat and drink. It's not that I can't afford to raise an idle man in Yuangfu. As for the poison on his body, even if he wants to find a princess for treatment, he needs the princess's consent. Mo Shanghua's identity is how to be robbed. How can she forget? Such hatred, even if it is not Mo Shanghua, for anyone, will never give up. Flower willow will fold fan away, rhythmic in the palm of the tap, is also, with the personality of small Mo flower, don't give him in the next note poison edge is good, more panic cure. Mentioning the flowers on the street, Yen Beiqing's eyes could not help but smile. Although Yen Moli's move is good, he forgot that after all, the mountain is high and the emperor is far away. Even if I can't treat him openly, won't I be next to him? As long as he doesn't die. Flower thousand willow clear a smile. If really is the devil high 1 foot, the way high 1 foot, wonderful, really wonderful. Nanha left Yenbei City and went back to his own hospital. Not only did he not get punished for going out during the forbidden period, but he also got the pity of the king. But in fact, after Bingchui, her gentle and soft face immediately faded. Her face changed into a black tie-sleeve dress and a broad cloak. She left the palace quietly and went to the dark guard camp of Yenbei City in Yuzhou City. In fact, it was built in the basement under the martial arts school. The area of the basement is very large, which is almost the same as that of the palace. The people who live in Yuzhou City every day can imagine that they have been hollowed out a few meters deep under the road they walk and the house they live in. There is a huge and powerful secret guard camp hidden under it. However, this is just the headquarters. This dark guard camp has many branches in other places of Yuzhou. The number of people is comparable to that of a cavalry army. There are different departments in the camp. Each department is responsible for different areas, and the criminal responsibility department is the one that Nanha wants to go to. Mo Ling has long been waiting for the Department of Criminal Responsibility. Seeing that the South Crane is coming, he greets him with a complicated complexion. He purses his lips and doesn't speak. The South Crane's face was as usual, but in the past, his whole body's arrogant momentum was frustrated, and he looked very low. She went to Maureen and looked at him. "I'll take the punishment." Mo Ling pondered for a while, just nodded, "Let's go." The story of Nanha is also a legend in the dark camp. Originally, there were only men in the dark camp, but she was just a vagrant who was picked up by the Lord. She just survived the cruel training and broke the only woman in the dark camp who could survive the training. Not to mention that, later, she personally led 100 women's secret guards to come out. They were no less outstanding than men in completing the task, and they were very good at taking advantage of their female identity to facilitate the task. Mo Ling originally had some appreciation for Nan He, but Yen Beiqing had already given an order. He would not violate Yen Beiqing's order and show mercy to her because of this appreciation. They went to the person in charge of the Criminal Responsibility Department, and Mo Ling gave a brief explanation and then signaled to execute the sentence. The people of the Criminal Responsibility Department were surprised to see that Nan He was all over the face. When the director of the department saw this, he couldn't help asking, how can there be so many hundred lashes? What's the mistake made by Nan He's sister, which made the Lord so angry? Against the mother. Looking at the state of Nan He today, the man didn't think that Nan He would answer, but he didn't expect that she was so calm and the amount of information she said was so shocking. All the people around them who heard this sentence widened their eyes, only to find it inconceivable. When do we have a mistress? What's the matter? Why did the Lord suddenly change and find a mother to come back? Sister Nan He has been attached to the Lord for many years. No wonder. In their eyes, this time is the princess's stranger, but the flower is not their mother, their real mother, of course, if Yen Beiqing personally admitted the talent count. All around the people's talk, South Crane eyes also can't help but show a touch of imperceptible hate color, palm tightly clenched. Nothing to do? All down Mo Ling glimpses the Su hand that South Crane clenches, raises head cold voice to scold. The crowd immediately shut up and walked away without saying much. The director of the Department for Criminal Responsibility did not ask any more questions. He turned to the person who was facing him and said, "Come on, get ready." South Crane will hate heart down, clenched hands slowly relaxed, nodded, followed by walk-in, Mo Ling followed. The torture devices inside as like as 2 peas in the prison, and only a few dozen identical boards and whips, and a bench with dark red blood stains. Nanny took off his cloak and found one at random. He grabbed the edge of the bench and said, "Let's go." The people of the Dark Guard camp have always been indifferent. Although they came from the line of life and death together, if Yen Beiqing was there, he would show no mercy and take the whip and wave it down. People trained in the Dark Guard camp will not cry out. Therefore, Nanny grasped the edge of the bench, and his long nails scratched out traces on the edge of the bench, but he didn't shout out, only a dull hum from time to time. After 100 lashes, her black clothes were torn by the long lashes, her whole body was dripping with blood, her face was as pale as paper, her hair was soaked with sweat, and she stuck it on her cheek, which made her even more embarrassed. In this way, it is even difficult to walk, and even more scared to return to the palace quietly. Mo Ling sighed and picked up Nan He's cloak, which he had just put aside. He wrapped it around her and picked her up. Nan He is still conscious, but unable to struggle, so he closes his eyes. He neither opens his mouth nor sleeps. He just quietly closes his eyes. When Mo Ling sent Nan He back to her own hospital, Yuan Er and other close attendants had already been replaced. Only 2 maidservants in green are in the house. They are not surprised to see that Mo Ling has sent people here. They just welcome them up quickly. Maidservant has prepared the best medicine for acne. Just put your wife on the bed. Good. Mo Ling nodded and put the crane on the bed according to his words. Then he flew away from the window without saying much. When the 2 maidservants lifted Nan He's cloak, they were also startled. This punishment is too serious. Madam, maidservant will take medicine for you first. Later, I'll go back to the king and ask the doctor to come. Nan He closed her eyes and did not speak. No one knew. Her eyes were full of hatred at this time. Today's pain is from the Lord and from the woman. She will always remember it. Now she knew that even if the woman died, there would be no place for her in the Lord's heart. In that case, she would have to separate them. It's life or death. In her heart, she thought crazily, even the pain brought about by her maidservant's medication seemed to be unconscious, and the corners of her lips tilted slightly with a strange radiance. Did Nan He join in the fun? If I remember correctly, she should have been grounded just like me. Mo Shanghua listens to the news that Qinya has just gone out and sneaked around. Lu Mei can't help frowning. Qinya turned her lips, and her face was not very good. In any case, she couldn't stand being favored. It's said that the Lord didn't punish her at all, and he rewarded her with many things. Emo shang hua mei xn is tight siu, soft voice asks, what else? Can you mention the affair of Cloud Ji? Yunji's affairs had been suppressed for a while, only waiting for the result in the future. If Nanha was interfering with it, it would be more complicated. Although she knew that Yen Beiqing would not move her in consideration of their cooperation, she still had no bottom in her heart because of her love for Nanha. Qin Yaji Emo Shanghua why worry, but still blankly shook his head, this is not clear. After a pause, she raised her eyebrows again, and there was a kind of schadenfreude between her eyebrows and eyes. There was no movement from the Lord, but Mrs. Nan was ill in bed since she went back. The Lord had asked for a doctor, but she didn't seem to see it yet. Well, how can you suddenly get sick? The flower on the street whispered a word, and the color of thinking crossed in her eyes. In this case, unless someone wanted her to be sick. But isn't Yen Beiqing doting on her very much? They have a lot to do with each other. How could that be possible? While thinking about it, the maid outside suddenly came in and said, Princess, the prince is coming. Now you are in the house. Come out to meet you. Emo Shanghua and Qinyo were both surprised. They didn't expect that Yen Beiqing would come when they were writing. Surprise to surprise, but the flowers or nodded, get up to go out to meet. I've seen the Lord. Flowers on the road slightly blessing body, eyebrows drooping, not haughty mouth. Get up. Yen Beiqing nodded, directly came forward, took the hand of Emo Shanghua, and said with a smile, Go, I'm going in to talk with you. The tender hands of flowers in the street are wrapped by his generous palm nagging, but she is used to it and does not struggle. She obediently follows him and enters the house. But as soon as she fell, she drew her hands from the palm of Yen Beiqing's hand. After thinking about it, she said, Why are you here now? I heard that Nanji is ill. Don't you go and have a look? Princess, are you jealous? You can rest assured that there is a part of my heart with you, and I will never abandon you. Yen Beiqing, however, seemed unable to understand the seriousness of her words. Instead, he opened the topic and made a solemn promise. That's not what I mean. She asked in a low voice, Nanji went to see you, and then she got sick. You said, what's wrong with her? How can she open so suddenly? I'm not a doctor. How can I know that? Yen Beiqing shook his head with a blank face. Yen Beiqing refused to explain the reason, and Emo Shanghua didn't plan to ask again. After pondering for a while, he said, Yen Beiqing, I don't want to pay more attention to what you have done, but I hope you don't intervene in Yunji's affair. It's between me and Nanji. If you intervene, it will change the taste. Yen Beiqing looked at her for a long time, and the look in his eyes was treacherous and unpredictable. After a long time, he said with a smile, How can I understand your women's affairs, let alone intervene? As a matter of fact, he did intend to help her, but now her attitude is so firm, he might as well follow her. The stone in the flower's heart fell to the ground, picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea, then looked at Yen Beiqing, who was still sitting opposite. What else do you want? Yen Beiqing immediately turned his lips and yelled, I just agreed to compare. That's what you do. It's really a bridge breaking. If all the women in the world are as cruel as you, how can we men live? The flower on the road is tiny to pick, quite of don't approve of, so how? You don't care about Yen Moli now? I remember that he still had a lot of poison on him. If he didn't get rid of the poison in time and died with you, I'm afraid you won't be able to say it in any case. Yen Beiqing touched his nose and his eyes were full of innocence. The poison on the emperor's brother came before he came here. Yuzhou is remote. Where can I find him a famous doctor to help him cure him? If my father must rely on Ben to finish this matter, what can I do except suffer it? You're very generous. On the street the eyebrows and eyes curved a few minutes, looking rather smiling, but if he concealed the poisoning? Yen North City Mao bottom mo colors suddenly a coagulate, seem just will consider this point. Damn, he ignored that. Mo Xianghua saw that Yan Beiqing's expression was different, and the smile between his eyebrows and eyes also disappeared. I remember, he came from the city. I didn't mention the poisoning until yesterday. When I sent the doctor to reply, I didn't mention the poisoning. If it wasn't for mediocre medical skills, it would be. Brother Huang is really calculating. Yanbei City. It's not a dull person. If you think about it a little, you will find out all the reasons. The color of your eyes changes from light to thick, and the ink color is floating in your eyes. Mo Xianghua also gathered her eyes and kept silent, carefully thinking about the advantages and disadvantages of this matter in her mind. After a long time, she raised her head again and leaned back, her hands around her chest. She looked like she was ready to take care of herself. Do you believe in my medical skills? What do you mean? Yan Beiqing's eyes flashed, and he thought about what Mo Xianghua might do in his mind. He thought about it thoroughly, but he was sure. Mo Xianghua, under his deep and secluded gaze, nodded slightly. However, it's up to you to solve my forbidden foot first. Since you want to solve my forbidden foot, Nanji will also solve it together. It's naturally simple. Yanbei City directly accept down, eyes to restore a deep, good time to look at the flowers. Then the next step, how do you plan to do? The color of silence in the flower eyes on the street remained unchanged, and the words were very leisurely. Nature doesn't do anything. Yan Beiqing saw the silence in her eyes for thousands of years, as if she had a soul in her heart, and immediately realized, well, that's right. In that case, we might as well do something meaningful. What's the point? Mo Xianghua looks up at him, eyes color seems to be puzzled. Yan North City Mao inside a faint light delimits. The lip cape is to stir up a touch of mysterious smile. In the puzzled eyes of Mo Xianghua, his body slowly leans forward and approaches her a little bit. Put on the flower not to dodge, just don't understand looking at him a little bit close. When Yan Beiqing's lips were only half an inch away from Mo Xianghua's beautiful cheek, she was able to walk. Later, when he wanted to avoid it, a knock came out of the door. Princess, princess. Then, Qinya's voice came in from the outside. Yan Beiqing suddenly froze in the same place, his face darkened, and his face was rather gnashing teeth. The flower on the street glanced at him with the remaining light, and couldn't help laughing. It was hard to get a smile between her eyebrows and eyes. Outside, Qinya only heard the laughter of flowers in the street, but no one answered. She couldn't help knocking a few more times. Princess, prince, servant Qinya. Yan Beiqing's face became more and more dark, especially the smile on his lips, which made him feel a little angry. Under such shame and annoyance, his eyes were suddenly deep. He turned to his face and quickly kissed the white and delicate cheek of the stranger. Then he quickly moved his body backward, just like a child. He laughed with pride. His always deep eyes were shining at this time. Now the flowers froze. Her whole person is dull. Come down, good long time, just raise a hand to cover own cheek after knowing. The place that had been kissed was just like the place that had been burned with a hot iron. The porcelain white cheeks were burning red in a flash, and even the roots of the ears were burning. You! She quite some shame annoyed of gouged out Yan North City one eye, but words have also vomit not to come out. Yan Beiqing's lips turned up in delight, and even Qinya's knock outside the door was very pleasant. Come in. When Qinya came in, she saw that the ear lobes of flowers on the street were red, and her heart suddenly became clear. She could not help but covered her lips and laughed. Mo Xianghua was more and more embarrassed and annoyed in her heart, but she straightened her face and said, "What are you laughing at? If you have something to say, you can't be punished if you delay." Princess, you are so angry. Qinya Fei is not afraid of it. Instead, she mumbles with a smile, which attracts a stare from the stranger. Thinking of the people waiting outside, Qinya's smile broke down a little, and her face was not good. Mrs. Ping asked for a meeting outside, saying that she was coming to see the princess. Mo Xianghua Mao inside tiny can't check of skip a touch of displeasure, even she didn't notice. After pondering for a moment, her eyes fell on Yan Beiqing. Yen North City is very innocently touched to touch nose wing. Does my king have ash on the face? Mo Shanghua didn't answer his words, but glanced back. Please come in. His face was calm, and he could not see happiness and anger. Seeing this, Qinya couldn't say anything more. She ordered a second-class maid to invite people in. Pingji today wants to lose a special dress, makeup delicate and decent, and wearing a soft pink dress, more pink peach cheek, delicate and lovely. However, even with the cover of the powder, she could still see some slight swelling and unclear 5 fingerprints on her face. As soon as she came in, her eyes first fell on Yen Beiqing Yingying Fu. I've seen the prince and princess. Yen Beiqing was obviously not interested in her. He just nodded, and then there was no following. He didn't even have any superfluous words. The flower on the street is also as usual, pale, lukewarm, get up. Pingji gets up according to her words. She didn't feel embarrassed at all. She said with a smile, the prince is really interested in the 2 sisters. After a while, he saw Nan Mei and the princess all over. I can't compare the good fortune of my 2 sisters, so I can only come by myself. After a pause, she glanced at Moore on her side and said, my concubine guessed that the king had been working hard all the way, but the breakfast was not good, so she cooked tremella soup specially. You might as well have a taste. Put it here first. Yen Beiqing orders the little table in front of him. After Moore really puts the tremella soup on the little table, he doesn't move. His eyes follow Mo Shanghua all the time. Mo Shanghua also raised his eyes and swept the tremella soup. Looking at Yen Beiqing's eyes, he said, Pingji's craftsmanship is good. I smell it sweet. Pingji's eyes immediately dyed a bit of satisfaction. Maidservant concubine specially for the king and learn, if too bad, also dare not end to the king in front of. Mo Shanghua's face didn't change, but her voice suddenly turned. But when I just heard Qinya's report, it seemed that Pingji came to visit me. I don't know if you can prepare another one for me? It's a calm voice, but it seems to bring endless chill, which makes people feel cold. Pingji's face was stiff and her brain was empty. She didn't know how to respond. As a matter of fact, it was just what she said casually, fearing that Qinya would stop her. She was slapped yesterday. It's too late to hate her, let alone prepare for the flowers. What's the matter with you? But what's the difficulty? You can't make a bowl of porridge? Mo Shanghua didn't let her go, and Qingling's voice rang again. At this point, she just looked at Pingji for no reason. As for the specific reason, maybe it was Pingji's 3 or 4 provocations in the past. Pingji's eyes for help immediately fell on Yen Beiqing, and she went a few steps closer. My lord, I'm just worried about you. It's just a moment of neglect. Strange, the princess didn't do anything to you, but I just want a bowl of soup. Yen Beiqing didn't seem to understand what she was saying, and his face was full of inexplicable color. Pingji suddenly felt cold hands and feet, quickly turned around. Princess, I don't mean that, I'm just in a hurry. What do you mean? I'm a little confused. I don't know what you mean. Mo Shanghua, a delicate cheek, the upper half of the emotional fluctuations, light enunciation. Maidservant. Before finishing a sentence, Qinya on one side suddenly said, Princess, Madam Ping always respects you. How can you do something in your name? Don't think much about it. How can this little girl speak for herself? Pingji's heart beat with a faint sense of uncertainty. Before she had time to speak, she heard Qinya say, Princess, do you remember the herbs that Mrs. Ping promised to send you that day? I think Mrs. Ping is here for this matter. Mo Shanghua and Qinya look at each other calmly, and then they understand her meaning in an instant. At the moment, they cooperate with each other very much and say, that's right. Pingji is always indifferent, but she will not do the flattering and disrespectful things as you say. After all, no one can do without the punishment of palm and mouth. Seemingly understatement, but in silent remind Pingji. Pingji nearly broke a silver tooth and didn't open her mouth for a long time. The master and servant of them had made up their mind to pit her severely, but she was careless and let them take advantage of the loophole. If you want to resolve it, you can only do as they say. But all the herbs on the list are expensive, and the quantity is not small. She came from a bad family. Her family couldn't give her any money at all. She didn't have enough money to buy the herbs in the palace. Kill her, she can't take it out. She can't take it out. Since this bitch doesn't want to make her feel better, she will never make her feel better. Pingji was so hateful that no matter what happened to her, she bit her teeth and knelt down. You can see that, Lord, when you are still here, the princess dares to humiliate her. You can imagine how she and Nanmei come over these days when you are away. Said, unexpectedly covers the mouth nose to whimper. The flower on the street has a slightly coagulated complexion, and there is a touch of cold at the bottom of the eyes, like the ice and snow, which makes people feel cold. Chinya is even more angry. She is about to argue. Before she comes forward, she is stopped by the flower on the street and uses it. Only 2 people. The voice that could be heard said, let's see what flowers she can sing first. Chinya is not willing to stare at Pingji, who is crying, but obedient. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.